Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And this evening, we bring you a transfer deadline day stream where we'll be talking about basically, have Tottenham shown enough ambition? Have Tottenham strengthened or weakened the squad? Do you think Conte's happy with the squad? And a lot of various other topics. I mean, what do you make of Tottenham not pursuing a centre-back, not pursuing a Cam, which many fans wanted to see brought in here? So plenty to talk about tonight. We will be joined by Sean from Spurs Talk Show, Mr. Butler, very, very shortly. And Hotspur as well, who hopefully will be coming. I'm not sure whether he's awake or not, but he did say he'd be here, but he's not. But we should be joined by him. But right now, we are joined by Mr. Brady and Kuva. Philip, how are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, I'm okay. Had hoped for maybe a bit of action today, but it doesn't appear to happen unless something dramatic happens in the next 90 minutes or so. But yeah, it's been a bit of a damp squib today.
Yeah, it has. It's been a bit of an anticlimax. I think we're all in agreement on that. I mean, Kuva, how are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, good. Otherwise, sort of deflated, really, isn't it? That's the general feeling. The football's not spectacular to watch, and transfers not coming in. At least the results are there. It's not all doom and gloom, but things could be so much better, couldn't they?
It could have been, especially after such a strong start. But, you know, I think it was more or less confirmed earlier on in the day that Tottenham's window is over. Gil not going out to Valencia, which was probably put the smoke signals out to say that was over and there will be nobody else coming in today. Now, look, what we will do is we're going to welcome some of you guys into the comments, take some of your comments, and then we will get into it very, very shortly about the transfer window. We've got Mark, big up, my man, says club shouldn't have promised a war chest in the beginning, then people's expectations wouldn't be so high. I mean, Kuva, what would you say on the war chest at the 150 million?
It was never really promised, was it? If you look at the way it was worded, it was... It seemed, depending on how optimistic you are about your views on Daniel Levy, I suppose. For me, it just said to give us financial flexibility and for investment both on and off the pitch. That could have meant very tiny amount on the pitch. It could have meant a huge amount off the pitch. Being cynical, I sort of read into it what we're seeing. But no, well, it is what it is. It's easy to get the expectations up because we know we need this kind of level of investment, don't we? It's obviously not going to happen very quickly.
Yeah. Well, Conte did say another 2 windows, so looks like we've got some about another year or two to go. Moondog says very, very disappointed. Yeah, I think we'll all agree with that, Moondog. It has been a bit of an anticlimax. Dermatron says, for me, it's been a good window, not brilliant, not great, but good. But we, where we were last summer to this, yes, we have improved, more work to do. But in Conte and the Don, I fully 1,000% trust. Absolutely love that, Dermot. Big yourself up, my man. I hope you're keeping well. Tequila 316 says, big up Irish from the flat cap. Window got to be a 6 out of 10 for me, mainly because of business regarding the centre backs. Yeah, I think, look, I'm very disappointed with the centre backs. Everyone knows how strongly I feel on them, my man. George Hill says, solid, not great window. Can understand why some aren't happy with the net spend, but I'd rather only spend 60 million and get Conte players than 150 million on Levy players. In Conte, we trust. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, look, a very fair assessment, I would say. Georgie Hill, big yourself up, my man. Frank Lass says, need a centre-back in Cam. Let's hope, Lord. Honestly, no point. Just stick on a movie or something. Nothing's going to happen. Pierre Ogie, big yourself up. He says, hello. Was really hoping for more at the end of the day. I think we're all hoping for 1 or 2 more, my man. It is disappointing. King Huddle says we have 2 for every position. Reserve 11, Forrester, Session, Lenglet, Tanganga, Sanchez, Spence, Skip, Basuma, Gill, Richarlison, Mora, plus 30 and Sar. Tanganga, though, isn't good enough to back up Dyer. I mean, Philip, what would you say to King Huddle's comment here? He's basically saying we have 2 for every position.
Well, we have mostly, okay, it's a centre-back issue that's causing the major. I think if we'd have bought a centre-back, everyone would be, pretty much a spring in their step. But it's because of the lack of a centre-back that everyone's kind of very down in the mouth at the moment, which I don't think is fully fair because we have strengthened the team. If you go back to the side that finished up on the 22nd of May, we're a much stronger team. We've got rid of the 4 apostles, if you like, that were kicked out of the squad. They're all gone. okay, on loan, but they're not on the payroll anymore. We've brought in Perisic, Basuma, Richarlison. You know, we were crying out for a backup to the strikers last season. Now we've got one. We've got a world-class player in Perisic. We've got a potentially world-class player in Basuma. So, yeah, we have strengthened the squad, but just maybe not just in the one area that causes the most concern, which is the centre-back. So we're going to have to suck it up and wait till January now, because there's nothing going to happen in the next hour. That's for sure. But we have mostly, we're mostly covered in most of the positions. We've two good goalkeepers. We've midfield is fairly okay, and we've back up to the strikers. It's not perfect. It's not great. It's good. 6.5 out of 10, maybe.
Well, there you are, King Hud. Let us know what you think on what Philip has to say. We'll take a few more comments and then we'll crack into it. We've got Chris said, frustrated teams around us strengthening their teams. We finish our business, so no centre-back addressed or Cam. Can fully understand the frustrations, my man. Derek Hutchinson says, good evening, Dave and Jack. Window's about to close and we still have a shite back line. What the fuck? I mean, look, all I'm going to say is people told me some of these guys were good enough. I tried to highlight the problem before it became glaring and obvious. I wasn't really allowed to, but now it does seem a bit alarming. But big yourself up, Derek. We've got Lynchy says we're not signing anybody, man. It's not happening. Window is closed today. What happened to if someone leaves? They need to be replaced. I don't like being lied to. Well, I mean, we were told that when Winks was going and Regulon were going, because they already were set to go, that they wouldn't be replacing them and stuff like that. So, look, we'll get into it, Lynchy. We'll get into whether we were lied to or not. But big yourself up, my man. I'll just welcome a few more people. Then I want to welcome Sean in. He's in the background there. We've got NJ123. Big yourself up, my man. Big up, Welsh Gal. Great to see you in the building. Wembley 1 says, evening, guys. It's the sound of crickets and tumbleweed in Levy land. Revenge for being cornered into spending often and early is a dish best served late. Big up, Wembley. Franco Martini, good to see you. Jetro Zulu, great to see you, my man. Dan Coy says last night's overpassing between the defenders and not taking responsibility was a big wake-up call. Need another centre-back. I wanted a proper right wing back this window, so I'm not happy with the window. Look, like I said, fully understand the frustrations, my man. Top 943 says big up, Bob. Big yourself up, brother. Kolavasius, good to see you. Hopefully I got that name right. I think I butchered that, to be honest. Dave Hamilton says poor end into the window after a bright start. 5 out of 10. Big yourself up. Fiona says it's been a good window, but I do fear we are too short. Big up, TZ. Sue Smith says not enough ambition shown in this window, not nearly enough. A big opportunity missed, in my opinion. That is a fair point. Mark, big up, man. Really appreciate the support. He says thanks for the great shows and hard work, Dave and Jack. Look, you know, we do try our best. That's one thing I will say. Every day we sit there thinking about how we can get the content across to the viewers, maybe in a better way, you know, get more viewers engaged with us through shows and stuff like that. And we are trying to pump out more content as well for that. Hopefully you guys will enjoy. So I really appreciate that, my man. Really appreciate the comment. Big yourself up, brother. And then let's welcome in Shawnee. Shawnee boy, how are you keeping, brother?
Thus far, I'm keeping up.
I got Shawnee.
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Just having it, Phil Coover. You right, guys?
Yeah, good here, mate. How's the dog? That's the big question.
Bugsy. Yeah, she's all right, mate. Yeah, she's on her tail. Yeah, she's on the mend, mate. She's on the mend. I appreciate that. I appreciate you asking.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good. Love to hear that, Shawnee. You know, you wouldn't be the same Shawnee without Bugsy, so it's good to hear that the dog is.
She wouldn't be the same Bugsy without me. Let's get it right.
Love it. Let's big up Nick as well. Good to see you in the building. Says, let's all focus on how good Perisic is and leave it at that. Absolutely love that, man. I think we should. It's from Paddy Harnett, and then we will crack into it. Paddy Harnett said, I asked this on Twitter. If we sign Basuma, Spence, Perisic, Destiny, and Forrester during the window, and then sign with Richarlison and Langley today, would you be happy right now? Interesting take. Interesting spin. We'll let you go first, Philip, and we'll work our way around the panel, and then we'll crack into the questions I have.
Yeah, I think the timing of the signings is probably detrimental to our mood at the moment. We signed them all so early, you know, before the season had even started. Now we're into the season and there's been no signings coming in. It's a psychological thing. You'd always get a lift when you sign a player. So if we hadn't signed Richarlison and Longley up to today, we'd be moaning like hell. But then we signed them and the mood lifts. But it still doesn't address the centre-back routine. But yeah, I think it would have lifted our mood. more than we are at the moment. Because at the moment, it just seemed that the Samaritans would be working overtime after tonight with Spurs fans, because everyone just seems to be so much down the dumps about everything, which I don't think is fully justified. We've had worse transfer windows, like the ones we didn't sign anybody. Then we really have something to complain about.
We've had a lot worse windows, a lot worse. Yeah.
Cooper, what would you say on Paddy Harnett's question here? If he's playing a bit of a psychological mind game here.
Yeah, it is a bit of psychology, isn't it? I mean, when you get treated early and then things turn into a trickle, of course it's disappointing. I think it probably would have been a little bit better about the window, but at the end of the day, have we really addressed all the areas of the that we needed to address? And I'd say the answer is still no. So I think it's more a case of what annoys me is it's not just about this window. It's about so many windows and why we end up in a position like this, where we're thinking we need 12, 14 players. It should never have come to this. And there seems to be a regular cycle with the ownership in the last, and I'm not even just going to count Levy in this. So go back to Sugar's era as well. Same sort of things. There's just neglect in areas of the team. Occasional bits of good spending. There's been some of the signings are good here. I mean, I like Basuna as a signing. I like Perisic, Richarlison, Longley. I think it's going to turn out okay. It might be okay when we get the first 11 fully up and running at some point and sort out that back line at first. But perhaps the psychology of it could have been a factor. Perhaps Paddy's got a point.
And Sean, do you think Paddy Harnett has a point here?
I'm going to take Paddy's excellent psychological point and I'm going to raise him another context, another nuance. And that is, had we waited until now to sign Richarlison or Bissouma or Destiny, we'd be paying 30 million, 40 million, 50 million quid for them. If you look at Leeds United right now, how sick must they feel that they sold Rafinha for 55 million quid 6 weeks ago, when today Manchester United paid 90 million quid for Anthony, when yesterday Chelsea paid 90 million quid for Fofana. In the last 4 weeks, the inflation in the transfer market has gone from obscene to insane. And the amount of money that is being paid for players, if Tottenham had done all of the business that they did 2 months ago today, we would have spent the 150 million and more on those players. Richarlison would have gone for 80. Bissouma would have cost 50. Maybe Bissouma's different because he's last year of his contract. But I think that doing the majority of our business early probably saved us 35, 40 million quid. So great point, Paddy. And I think it's even better. I think it's even more important that we did our business early than the brilliant point that you've made.
Big up, Paddy.
I think with Leeds, though, you've also got to look at they brought in quite a lot of players as well. So perhaps the Rafinha out at that point, more convenience due to timing rather than the overall strategy of the window, I suppose.
Oh, don't bring common sense into it, Kuva. I was trying to make a statement signing.
Look, we will crack into it, guys. First of all, big up, John. Hope you're keeping well, and hopefully, how's the kid how are you getting on with the kid, my man? Let me know. Big yourself up, Johnny boy. And guys, feel free to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. In fact, smashing the like is actually important. And feel free at any time to get your super chat in and show your support for the channel, but also with your thoughts on the transfer window. We'll all have a very, very good discussion on it, but also get your comments into the comment section, and we'll bring them up as we go along as well. And I just want to say before we get into it as well, look, we're fans at the end of the day. None of us have any influence in the club in terms of transfer policy. So on both sides of the argument, whether you're happy or whether you're unhappy, I don't want to see anyone blaming fans. I think it's very sad to see that happen, if I'm being honest. I don't want to see anyone blaming fans today. You can have your opinion on each other's opinion. Have your opinion on what the panel have to say and disagree, fine. But let's not attack any of the individuals today in the chat or on the panel. I'd be greatly appreciated that, because I know I know tensions are very high in the Spurs fan base in a minute, but look, let's get into it. Now, I'll be honest, I'm going to bring up a graphic here. Now, I did try and preempt Gil Messi would be out today, so I just left it on the graphic. I wasn't asked taking it off, but here is the graphic of the business we've done so far. Clement Lenglet on loan from Barcelona for the season. Fraser Forrester brought in from Southampton on a free. Ivan Perisic brought in from Inter Milan on a free transfer. Yves Bissouma brought in from Brighton. Richarlison brought in from Everton for 60 million. Jed Spence brought in from Middlesbrough for 12.5, could be rising to 20 million. Destiny Udogie brought in for 18 million plus add-ons. I think it was 50 million plus 3 million add-ons, bringing it to 80 million. And Christian Romero was brought in as well. We had to make the purchase of Christian Romero permanent this summer as well, which I believe we done. It was yesterday. It was announced at 47 million with add-ons and stuff like that. Now, outgoings, Cameron Carter-Vickers to Celtic for 6.3. Stephen Berg Ajax for 27.6. Jack Clark to Sunderland for 10 million, which we done well to recoup on him. Dane Scarlett loaned out to Portsmouth. Joe Roden loaned out to Stade Rennes. G. Lavani Lo Celso loaned out to Villarreal. Endon Burgers loaned out to Napoli. Sergio Reguilon on loan at Atletico Madrid. And Harry Winks on loan at Sampdoria. And what I want to know from the panel, and we'll start with Philip and work our way down, is just very, very simple here, Philip. Just give me 1 second. Are you happy or are you unsatisfied with the business that Tottenham have done so far this summer?
Just to give you a slight correction on that outgoings, Troy Parrott as well. On loan to
Oh, yes, sorry. There wasn't enough space, Philip.
Yeah. Right, I'm not unsatisfied, right? I'm certainly not unsatisfied. I'm not completely happy. I'm somewhere, in the fairly satisfied, but not as much as I should have been. But just looking at the figures there, if you include the 47 million for Romero, which I know was contracted last season, we've spent 150 million. We spent 150. And I'm just querying, did we get 10 million for Jack Clark? I thought it was only about 3 million we got for him. Maybe I could be wrong now. I don't think we got our money back.
Plus, we owed 45 million quid on short-term player liabilities in July from 3 years ago. So,
if you want to look at this from a purely accounting point of view, the money has been spent. It might not have been spent in the way that we were kind of believed it would be, but that's always going to be Levy's argument that he did what he said. He spent 100.
And we've only taken the 100 million quid out of the 150. So,
sorry, what did you say, Sean?
We haven't taken 150 million quid. We've only taken 100 so far.
Right. Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm not going to. I'm just going on the figures.
But I'm saying it amplifies the point you're making. Is what I'm saying. It's not as bad as we think. Yeah.
But one thing I will say, this thing about we haven't attempted to get a centre back. I am sure there's been agents ringing up Paratici every day of the week offering him centre backs who just don't suit Conte's plans. The fact that we didn't get one means we weren't able to get one that he wanted. But I'm sure we did try. I mean, we know we're crying out for centre back. You can be sure though they've been crying out for one as well. It just hasn't happened. For whatever reason, it hasn't happened. We'll probably never know. It'll have to be redressed in future transfer windows. And I think then the stories will probably come out why we didn't get someone this year. Like Bastoni's the case in point. He didn't want to leave Italy. You cannot legislate for people not wanting to come to your club. So I think, I'm reasonably satisfied. I'm hoping that Longley and Romero will form a good defensive partnership with one of the others, be it Dyer or whatever, Sanchez. And the fact that we didn't get a Cam, I think Brian Hill staying at the club could be an advantage. I think Brian Hill's got a great future.
Told everybody he'd be around.
What's that?
I told everybody he'd be kept around, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never wanted him to go in the first place. I'm delighted he's there because there is a player there, and he could operate as a number 10 if he's given the role to do it. So reasonably happy. Certainly not going to be in the jumping up and down celebrating mood, but let's see how we get on when we start playing proper football, which will come.
Love that. And Chris, Philip, sorry, just quickly before we get Kuva's thoughts. Chris says, Philip, we've had worse. Fact is we have not addressed the real issue. The defence can't be dealing with Dyer. Look at his mistakes he's making.
Yeah, well, I say we haven't addressed it. I'm sure we tried to address it, but it didn't work out for whatever reason, which we are not privy to at the moment.
Fair enough. I mean, Kuva, what's your thoughts on the window we've had so far? Are you happy? You unsatisfied?
really unsatisfied. I mean, the reason I say that is you just look at that West Ham game. When the ball is in the right back area of our team, doesn't matter if Sanchez had it, Emerson had it. It's like a Bermuda Triangle. It's like where football goes to die. It's that they just there's no talent there at all. They cannot pass the ball out to save their lives. It was getting quite embarrassing at times, the amount of times balls played to them and it's instantly back pass sideways. There's no sort of cutting edge to their game. No sort of well, I shouldn't say cutting edge. There's nothing to their game. But Sanchez defended okay at times, but Emerson's has defended okay at times. They just can't play football. They're not good players. We're sorely lacking in these positions. It's still not been addressed. We're still trying to overcome both Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen going. We haven't really done anything replacing them until Romero came along. So it's imperative Longley gets in the team, Romero gets in the team. I'm hoping Jed Spence can do what he needs to do. But if you just go on the basis of what we have seen and some of the games at the start of this season, you can see where we could have invested and we haven't. And for me, that's letting the manager down, because I can't believe anybody who can seriously tell me he's going to be happy looking at the way Sanchez and Emerson are playing football out from the back. It's shocking to me.
Well, maybe when Romero comes back in, Sanchez won't be an issue.
Yeah, or maybe when Doherty gets fit again as well, right? We've got 7 players that are not fully fit right now. So
let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Well, Sean, what's your opinions on the transfer window so far today? And we will go into a lot more topics off the window in depth, but just generally, what's your thoughts? Are you unsatisfied? Are you happy with the window? Or are you in the middle even?
I completely understand. I was saying this to you earlier, Dave, on my channel. I completely understand. It's very rare where I look at Tottenham's, like, the community or the people in the comments, and whatever my position is, it's very rare that if I see someone with a diametrically opposed view, that I go, I can understand where you're coming from. A lot of the time, I'm like, I don't understand how you feel the way you do. But right now, I understand why anybody has the opinion that they have, whether it's terrible, it's great, it's awful, it's somewhere in between. I can appreciate that everyone has their take, and I think that it's based on validity. I choose to see it through a more positive viewpoint, through a more positive lens. I personally think that we are somewhat guilty as fans of making assumptions on what was available. Like I see Brandon Reynolds in the comment that he brought up a minute ago saying 150 million was supposed to be on top of the normal 50 million window, etc. And I can understand why he would think that, but there was no disclosure from the club that was how much was available. So we're left to our own devices to make sense of how much we can expect. And I think expectations of Tottenham right now are super sky high. Like I think that Tottenham fans are looking at, I don't know whether it's because Arsenal were starting the season undefeated or whatever it is, but I think that we should be looking at the season generally and thinking in a positive light, and without getting into the season specifically, but the transfer window, I also think we should be looking at the window with a generally positive viewpoint. I think we're far better than we were this time last year. And I think that a lot of the players that we've signed haven't really bedded in yet. They haven't learned the tactics. They're not fully fit yet. I also think that Tottenham at the moment are suffering from a lot of the players that would otherwise be involved in the first team. I've seen a lot of people saying that the bench yesterday was woefully weak. I also, I think that we have to recognize the fact that players like Matt Doherty have been rushed back from injury in the preseason and got injured. I think that there's a solution to some of the imbalance on the right. I think that Skippy's not fully fit. I think that Lucas Moura wasn't on the bench yesterday. Brian Hill wasn't on the bench. Like, if you have a fully fit squad, that bench does look incredibly far stronger than it did yesterday. I generally am someone who chooses, whilst I understand that other people who choose to see it a different way, I choose to see it in a positive light. I think we're going to be just fine. And I think that we've kept our powder dry, because I think that the smart money looks at what's being happening in the window in the last 3 weeks and saying it's ridiculous. The amount of the money that's being pushed around for talent, but not for game changers, is off the chain. And I think Tottenham are probably they're holding their breath, and they're going to see what happens in January. And if we can get through the Champions League, and if we can stay in the top 4, given our fixtures and how difficult our opening fixtures are, if we can stay around 3rd or 4th, then I think we'll be in a really brilliant position to go again in January. And with our fixtures in the second half of the season, I'm still choosing to view it in a very positive light.
And what would you say to Mark here, Sean? He says, Sean, beginning of the window, it was a war chest, 150 million plus Champions League money plus TV. Everyone close to the club was reporting it will be nothing like we have seen before. 250 million was reported from Ali Gold.
Right, but we haven't taken the 150 million. We've taken 100 million, right? So there's 50 million gone, right? The Champions League money hasn't come into the club yet. That gets paid in December. The TV money gets paid on a monthly basis. We had to pay 45, or we had 55 million, 60 million quid of outgoings on net player, on short-term player liabilities. No one, like I'd encourage people, rather than listening to journalists, like to go and look at the realities of the financial reports. We had 15 million quid coming in this summer and 60 million quid going out from player transfers. Everyone thinks that if you take Ndombele as an example, right? It's 60 million quid over a 6-year period. Everyone would think, oh, it's not paid immediately. It's 10 million quid every year for 6 years. That's not how it works. Every deal has its own personalized structure. It might be 20 million quid up front and then 5 or 30 million quid up front and 5 million quid over the rest of the contract. Like there's all sorts of variables. But in a nutshell, Tottenham had basically 50 million quid that had to go out for players that we signed 2, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. People like Lo Celso, people like Ndombele, all of that stuff had to be netted out at the end of this year. Right? There's so many intricacies into how much money has to go in and out. I don't think that it was reported correctly in the first place. And we had 100 million. It was 100 million, not 150. We can still take the other 50 million. I believe that you'll see that Tottenham will withdraw the other 50 million quid from the 150 before the end of the year. They have until the 31st of December to make that deduction, and then it sits on Tottenham Hotspur's account. I believe, and I could be naive or I could be ignorant or I could be way off the mark, but it's my choice to believe that there is a larger plan in place here, that we are going to keep our powder dry and see what happens and see how we get on. And I genuinely believe that maybe a different path would have been played had we got a more difficult Champions League draw. I think that the fact that we got an easier Champions League draw, or a more favourable Champions League draw than we could have done, maybe allowed us to sit back and think that we can get through until January, when the economics of the world could change. I personally believe that there's a giant recession coming. I think that there's going to be a whole different economic system or an economic environment by January, and consequently, I'm okay biting my tongue, keeping our powder dry. But Mark, I think that whilst I hear what you're saying, and I read the same things as you do, I think that some of those things were misreported or misaligned to the truth.
Big up, Marky boy. Hey, brilliant answer there from Shawnee. Let me know your response, Marky. Big yourself up. We've got THFC Till I Die with the super stick, and he's just saying a good job. He's really enjoying it. Big up, Dermo. Really appreciate the support, my man. Big yourself up, brother. Dermo will go live again later on, and I'll be on there. So big yourself up, my man. And we'll take a couple more comments, and then we'll move on to the next part of have we actually strengthened our weekend. But DMT says, big up, Big David, Sean, Kuva, Philip. I think we lose sight of how massive the wages we are paying to our new signings. Perisic, 200k per week. Basuma and Richie around 100k a week. That is a lot. Philip, do you think we should have to factor that in when we're talking about the budgets as well, about the wages they're on and sign-on fees and stuff?
Well, I mean, the last time I saw the Spurs wage bill, I think it was around 98 million for the year. Would that be correct? Somewhere in about that? I think there's somewhere in that region anyway. Like compared to Manchester.
Sorry, how much, mate? What did you say? Sorry,
98 million, 90 something million.
Yeah, that was in the 2021 account, so it's probably
Okay, well,
110 now. Yeah.
We've got rid of some high earners like Ndombele, 200 grand a week. He's gone. Compared to Manchester United, it was over 200 million. So that gives you an idea of the difference between the wage bill. I mean, 200 grand a week these days, well, it sounds an obscene amount of money. It's probably only average compared to what the United players, Liverpool players, City players are on. So I think...
Sorry, mate. It was our staff costs, including players, in its entirety, is 200. In June of 2021 was £205 million.
Well, that includes the manager, the coaches.
That includes everybody. So I don't know what percentage of that is players versus... Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the one I saw was just players only, so it was 98 million, which is a lot, but percentage-wise of turnover, I think that's what we need to look at. I think was it Fulham was the highest of the lot. I remember seeing the list of the percentage of income to salaries. I think they were huge.
Yeah.
So let's face it, Daniel Levy is a lot of things. He's not everybody's cup of tea, as we know, but he runs a tight ship. I think we'll all agree there. Like, there's no money wasted. So I think our wage bill is probably in line with what we can afford. We could probably afford more. We could probably afford more money on transfer fees. But he's cautious, and he's not going to pay like 100 million for that Anthony guy that's United. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And 42 million that Forest paid for that Morgan Gibbs White. It couldn't even get in the Wolves team.
Yeah.
I take your earlier point, and you were dead right about the last few weeks of the transfer window. Things have gone totally nuts, price-wise.
Bonkers, yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. And in that respect, if we had signed someone today, we probably would have paid 20 or 30 million more for them than we would have paid back in July. So from that point of view, admire the prudence. We don't want to get ourselves into financial difficulties just for the sake of buying a centre-back or a midfielder, even much as we'd like to have them in. So, I mean, I don't think any of you guys, maybe you were around. I was around in 91 when we nearly went bust. And that was the worst couple of weeks of my life, wondering would I have a club to wake up to the next morning. So that's why I'm always very much on the side of financial conservatism. And maybe that doesn't fit in with what a lot of people want, but I'd rather have a club well run than a club on the verge of going bust tomorrow morning, which is going to happen if you say this recession comes in. There are going to be casualties, and I do not want Tottenham Hotspur to be one of them.
I agree, 100%.
Fair enough. Absolutely love that. Well, people, hopefully you're enjoying the response to your comments. Kuva Moondog says having Doherty on the bench is not strong. We're scraping the barrel.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I appreciate what Phillips just said, and obviously there's valid points within all of that. At the end of the day, my view's always been: why are we being run by a business? Why are we not owned by football people? It's the conflict you're always going to get here. Is always a balance in the books, living within our means, whereas a billionaire owner somewhere else will just flash their money about, get the players in, fix the team, because they're more geared towards wanting the trophies than they are about sustaining the football club over a long term as a business. So we are scraping the barrel with players like this because we're capped on how much we are going to spend. What my biggest problem with doing it through this means, because it can be done, it's been done. Liverpool done a good job with it, haven't they? My biggest problem is we have not been consistent off the pitch with everything. The whether it's backroom staff, management, game, the way we play games, the style of the team, changing and chopping and changing constantly, and then buying in substandard players, inflated wages that we can't sell on again, and then buying for the future when youngsters that are never going to make the first team. It's been, although we're talking about not being wasteful with money, that's exactly what we are when it comes to transfers. The rest of the business is going fine. When it comes to the actual recruitment of players, we bought some absolute stinkers, and we do it regularly. It's got to be done better. It's like, was it last year Levy valued us at something like 3.5 billion or something was a rumor, and yet we're having a conversation about who's less shit out of Emerson and Doherty.
Let me ask you this, Kuva. Do you think the quality of I get in general you're talking about like all down the years that some of the quality of players coming in here and stuff. Has that improved since Paratici has come in, or do you still see resemblance of what you're saying there?
Mixed bag so far for me. It all depends on the likes of Jed Spence. If he comes off being a great player over the years, that it sort of raises the success level of the window, doesn't it? But you've got to view it over the long course of things. I'm not going to say, I mean, I know you like jokingly saying about Paratici being the Don and everything. I'm not going down that road because I want to see what he's like over 3-4 years, not just a couple of windows, because there's a hell of a lot to sort out at the moment. and it's not. We don't know for sure how well he's going to do that yet because we haven't got to that point yet. I just feel we are underperforming on the footballing side compared to what the infrastructure we've got away from the footballing side, and it's been a lack of direction. And this is like it's the coming together point, isn't it? This happens so often. We build a team, slowly deteriorates. Don't keep investing in it. Change manager again. Can't get rid of the players. Limits what we can do in the transfer market again. We just keep seeing the same routine over and over. I just don't see it changing anytime soon. I really don't see it changing under this chairman. But we'll wait and see. Perhaps Paratici has got that magic wand and can turn it around.
One day I'll get it out of you about him. I will get you to call him a Dan one day, even if it's in private. I'll get it to happen. Sorry, Philip, you're going to say something there, man?
I was going to say, Bakuma, just for what you've said there, do you know how would you rate the quality that we brought in this summer, like Bissouma, like Perisic and Richarlison? Do you not think they're an upgrade on what's been coming in previous transfer windows?
Oh yeah, sure. But I'm angry because we're in this state where we're having to rely on this window and can't possibly replace all these players that we need to replace. So I understand that it's going to take time, but I don't think we've really pushed the boat out. Yeah, you've got to say there is something to do with the financial constraints due to the prices now are clearly ridiculous. I think
Ridiculous, yeah.
And COVID.
Everybody would agree on that.
COVID before was a problem, right? Everybody.
Yeah. There's obviously some constraints, but I'm looking at it. Little simple things like 50 million that we didn't draw out, and then we bought 2 wing backs that one of them isn't coming for a year, the other one clearly wasn't straight ready for the first team, and Conte actually hinted that, well, more than hinted, alluded to that it was bought by the club rather than him wanting that player. And I'm thinking, well, that's 30 million pounds worth of fullbacks, 50 million in the bank, and we're still looking at players missing that clearly could improve this team. It just doesn't tie up with me. It really doesn't make sense when we've got such a high value of this club, and you compare it to our rivals. Our rivals are run differently, aren't they? Even the Gooners seem to be spending a bit of money. Whether that turns out to be more than they can really do yet, we'll find out soon enough. But
if you speak to Arsenal fans, the Gooners have spent 450, 500 million quid and have got nowhere.
I reckon if they had Conte, they'd get somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's an if battle, maybe, right? Like they have. Sure. The reality is they've spent 450 million quid and got nowhere. Aston Villa have spent 250 million quid in the last 3 transfer windows and are going to go down this season in all likelihood, right? Everton have spent 650 million pound in the last 4 seasons and were super lucky to avoid relegation last season. And I'd be amazed if they avoid relegation this season. One of those 2 will go down. One of them might be saved by the fact that Leicester look even more abjectly poor, like I predicted, by the way, and the fact that the two teams that come up, Nottingham Forest, look good enough to be able to hang around, and Fulham look good enough to hang around. I feel like there's so many ample examples that provide ample evidence of spending money willy-nilly doesn't not equate to success. It increases the likelihood of it. Chelsea are spending 500, 400, if they happen to have got Gvardiol, they haven't. They've got shut down. But let's call it 350 million in one window. The only reason they can get away with doing that is because they bought Chelsea. Todd Bowler and his American investment fund bought Chelsea at $1 billion less than what the valuation of Chelsea was, because it was a distressed asset because of the fortuitous circumstances around Abramovich and the war in Ukraine. If that hadn't happened, then what you've seen wouldn't have happened. And Chelsea are gambling on them kicking on and doing well, but all you can see on the pitch right now is it ain't working. Would you rather be a Chelsea fan right now or a Tottenham fan right now on the performances on the pitch and the results on the pitch? Because Chelsea look awful. They're buying all these players, but they're not getting anywhere. Like, Chelsea fans are spitting their feathers out as well, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's discontent everywhere you look Manchester United, they won tonight 1-0, lucky victory over Leicester. And they spent £1 billion over the last 10 years and won sweet FA. Spending money does not equate to success. Spending money in the right ways does. And for me, I just think that we need to all take a deep breath and hope to God that we can get through this half of the season unscathed with injuries, and then we go again in January.
But that is my point, though. I've never been critical of the amount of money we spend. It's how we spend it that's been the problem. The amount of players we bring into the club that are mediocre to start with, that don't improve the first team, that's got to change from my point of view. What is the point in buying back up to a wing back that doesn't get played anyway? We've now got 3 right wing backs at the club. How good is that? What's the point? What sort of smart investment was that, bringing Jed Spence in, if we go hanging on to 2 wing backs already? And Conte's even been looking at making Lucas Moura into another wing back. It's madness.
I think Jed Spence is getting a rough deal here, really. The guy has only played 10 minutes for us. He's obviously highly recommended. I reckon Jed Spence will be a fixture at right back by the end of the season.
He could be. So. He looked busy when he came on, didn't he, Phil? He looked busy.
He's got pace to burn. Yeah. And that's what we need. It's one of the things we need anyway. But anyway, listen, I think we could talk forever about who was a good buy to buy, who wasn't a good buy. Steve Hitchen, hang your head in shame. That's all I'm going to say.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. Well, look, we've got 2 super chats. We'll take them both with complete different opposing opinions. And then I want to move on. I want to talk about how we actually strengthened the squad this summer and move more in depth in the window. THFC till I die, Sean. He's a bit like he says, we have injuries. The new players have not started yet. So let's take a deep breath. We're 3rd in the league, unbeaten. So let's get behind the team and Conte. Come on, you Spurs. Now, the last part I'm going to take quickly. Look, no matter what way you see the window, I think come game day and everything else like that, and genuinely, everybody is always behind the team and Conte. But, we can all still have our opinions on the transfer window. But, Shawnee, what would you say to what Dermo has to say? He's thinking along the lines of you, just everyone take a breath, do some Zumba or do some
robot dances. Do some robot dances like the Dermatron. Big up Dermatron. Love you, my man. We do have a lot of injuries, right? Whether they're like direct injuries to like Bentancur, Lucas Moura, Brian Hill. I'm not even sure why Brian Hill was left out of the game against West Ham. Maybe it was because there was the move that didn't happen. But we also have legacy injuries, right? And they are meaningful. Matt Doherty, like I said, I don't know what the I think was medial ligaments. Essentially, his knee was almost ripped to pieces by the Aston Villa player in that massive game last year where we ended up winning 4-1. He's been out since then for some stupid reason. God only knows why. We decided to play him in the K-League game for 45 minutes. He aggravated the injury. He hasn't come back since. I personally believe that he isn't fit. I think he's on the bench to make up the numbers. I don't think that he is fully fit. We've seen Lucas Moura come on since to play right wing back rather than Doherty. That tells its own tale. I think you could make the same argument for Oliver Skipp. Yesterday, Højbjerg, we don't know. I think there's a little bit of Højbjerg being the hero Viking that he is, who doesn't want to give up his place. I love that tenacity about him. But if you watch that tackle in slow motion, if it rolls over by half an inch more, he dislocates or breaks his ankle, he does his cruciate ligaments. He probably gets asked at half time, are you good to continue? Part of him says, because his adrenaline's running, because he's an absolute legend, he says, yeah, I'm good. Because he knows that Ollie Skipp isn't fully fit. I guarantee you today he's woken up and he's got his ankle is the size of a watermelon. For me, we do have injuries. We do have people missing. That bench did look weak yesterday, but there isn't another team in the Premier League who has 6 or 7 players, whether it be tactically unfit, physically unfit, not ready, or unfit when it comes to form in the case of Heung-min Son, who has a decimated team in terms of what you would otherwise use and utilize in your first 11 games, like Tottenham. And yet we are still 3rd in the league, having played our starting 5 games were top 3 hardest 5 opening fixtures of any other team in the league. We're 3rd. We're undefeated. And we're not even clicking. I choose to view that as a positive. How good are we going to be when we get our entire squad back fit and when we finally click into 3rd gear? We're going to be something a force to be reckoned with. I'm with Dermatron. I like to see it that way. I understand why people view it a different way. It's not the way I choose to view it.
I love it.
To counter that, I'd say start of last season with Nuno, won our first 3 games. A lot of us said, look at the way we're playing. This isn't going to continue. Sure enough, it didn't.
Yeah,
I think there's levels between Nuno and Contador.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
I hope so. But Kuva, we'll let you take this from Shane O'Neill, and then I want to start with Philip and find out how we strengthened from last season. Shane O'Neill says ENIC have turned a 20 million club into a 2.5 billion club on our value, using us to pay their mortgages or using our money to pay their mortgage on the stadium. We are not and will not be in financial trouble. I mean, what would you say to Shane O'Neill here? And if anyone, once Kuva's finished, if any of you guys have anything you want to say on the back of it, feel free. And then I do want to get into talking about squad depth and stuff like that.
Well, at the end of the day, we do have a multi-billionaire owner. So it's not like we're going to get into financial trouble, realistically, is it? We might not run within the parameters of the business plan that's been set up. We might even fall foul of financial fair play if we go crazy, but we're not going to be running out of money anytime soon. I just don't see it. We need to go spectacularly bad like Everton have over the years, and it took them a long time to get where they are, or failing to be where they are.
Yeah,
where they should be, I should say. No, I'm not worried about it. We won't be in financial trouble. I agree. We're a stupidly rich club.
Interesting. I mean, Philip, anything you want to say on what Kuva had to say or Shane O'Neill here?
No, I'd say okay, if there was a league table for clubs that are going to go into financial distress, if you want to put it like that, over the next few years, we wouldn't be near the top of it. We'd be nowhere near the top. We are financially secure, but it only takes a few bad investments or a few bad decisions to change that rule around. And I don't think Levy is the type of guy that's going to do that. So I don't think we're going to be in financial trouble as per se. Our asset base is very strong. We've got the other income streams like the concerts and the NFL coming in as well, which is always something the other clubs don't have. So, I agree with Kuva. We're not going to be in financial trouble. But if there's a general recession, which based on the figures at the minute, we're inflation at 9% or 10%, and fuel prices going through the roof.
Higher than that.
There is going to be every chance that the worldwide recession is going to hit. Now, is that going to affect the ability of the TV companies and whatever to pay their monies that where clubs are due? Are UEFA going to reduce the prize money for the various competitions? We don't know. That could happen. And if that's the case, clubs that have factored in income from future income that might be downgraded due to worldwide recession, there are going to be clubs in trouble. Hopefully, we're going to be ring-fenced and not affected by that, because we've done it before. And as I said before, I do not want to go there again. It's no fun.
Yeah, for sure. And Shawnee, anything you want to say? I know you like finances.
Well, yeah, just I've seen a few comments that are saying finance is boring. Like, I understand that it's not for everyone, right? But one hand washes the other. Like you have to you don't have to personally have to have an interest in it, but the finances are what allows us to be able to pay the salaries of the players that allow us to hope to increase the likelihood of winning a trophy. So when I see people saying when I hear comments from certain areas of the fan base saying none of us are accountants, we shouldn't be accountants, just pay the money, get it done. It doesn't affect us. And at the same time, complain about the price of season tickets or the price of beer or the price of a shirt. Like, one hand washes the other. Like, if you don't want to understand it, that's an individual choice. I get it. But like, if you want us to be successful, you need to be able to be financially astute. Because if you're not financially astute, if you're not financially culpable and capable, then you can't afford the nice things in life, which in the terms of Tottenham is to be able to buy the best players for the right money, pay them the wages that they need, which is, of course, extortionate, as we all know. And then that increases the likelihood of the things that everyone wants, which is trophies and success. I understand that it's boring for everybody. It's not for me. I absolutely love it. It's like, for me, it's like watching porn. Yeah. But I get it. I get to everyone else. It's not, but like, it's important. It's important. And if people dismiss it as irrelevant, it's not irrelevant. It's very important. And so Yeah, that's all I've got to say on that particular point.
Big up, Shane O'Neill. Hopefully you enjoyed what everybody had to say. Let us know your general conclusion off the back of that, my man. But big yourself up, brother. Now, guys, what I want to move into is, have we strengthened or weakened our squad? Our squad here. And we'll start with you, Philip. I mean, what's your opinion? And before I get into this, I do want to say I want to take numbers out of it, because we all used that angle last January, but we proved it's better having quality brought in over having quantity that's not good enough, that don't want to be here. So I want to take numbers out of it. But in terms of strength in depth, Philip, how do you think our squad is looking? Have we improved on it from last season, or is it weaker than last season?
Well, I mean, okay, Conte made his feelings very clear during the close season when he isolated the 4 players he didn't want anything to do with the first team squad. You kind of put them in a little corral and train on your own lads, okay? Right, so that was 4 non-performing assets, if you like, taken out of the equation. We brought in Longley, proven international, not had a chance yet to work with Spurs or play too often. It will be an excellent acquisition. Fraser Foster, far better goalkeeper than Galini. I think everyone will agree, right? He's been, played in the Premiership for years and won championship medals with Celtic when he was in Scotland. Ivan Perisic, that maybe is the jewel in the crown. To get a guy, a proven World Cup finalist, proven international, experience to beat the band. That is a brilliant signing, especially in a free transfer. Okay, we might be paying him 200 grand a week. He's worth it. Basuma, now, I was over at the Brighton game last season when Basuma absolutely bossed the game. I remember thinking at the time, I wouldn't mind getting that guy. We've got him. He is going to, once he's bedded himself in, he's going to be a baller. Richarlison, well, I think we all know what he's like. He nearly invented the term shithousery. He is going to be a great asset to us. Jed Spence, I have great hopes for him whenever he does finally make the team, right? Destiny Ndoye, well, we'll not see him till next year, so we'll not comment on that. And Christian Romero, voted the best defensive player in La Liga before he came to Spurs, and we can see why. So we have strengthened our squad. The outgoings, Cameron Carter-Vickers never got a game. He's been on loan for the last 5 years. Steven Bergwijn, disappointing that he never did what he's entitled. He scored, I think he scored 4 or 5 goals for Ajax on his return there since he's taken back. So might have been good, didn't work out for him. Jack Clark, Steve Hitchen signing, waste of time. Dane Scarlett, getting rave reviews from the Portsmouth fans. They absolutely love him down there. And he scored his first goal in senior football there a couple of weeks ago. Joe Rodon, disappointing he went. I think he scored last night as well for his new team. Lo Celso, waste of space. And Ndombele likewise. Sergei Reguilon, disappointed he didn't make it. I thought he was going to be a good one. He's not. Harry Winks, no point in commenting, we all know. And Brian Hill is still with us. So yes, we have strengthened the squad. And compared to what we finished up with in May last season, there's every reason to be optimistic for the future. Pity we didn't get a centre-back and an attacking midfielder, but, it just didn't happen. So I'm very happy that we have strengthened the squad. And like Sean said, once we start playing football the way we should be playing football, I'm very positive for the future.
Love that. Love that. If everybody is enjoying the show, if you could please smash that like button, it greatly helps out what we're all trying to do here and pushes out the content basically to more and more people. So hopefully they get to enjoy it just like you guys do. Kuba, I think we'll all agree we probably strengthened in terms of strength and depth. I don't know whether you agree. You can say if you don't. Do you think we've improved the first 11 as well?
It's minor improvements so far because we just haven't seen some of these players really given a run yet. Perisic is quality, without that. He's already proved that. I'd like to think Longley's going to be the same. Basuma, that you got to say that was not a very good debut against West Ham, but you've got to assume he's better than that normally. It's certainly against us last season, he was amazing. And against other teams as well, he was. So you'd assume he's going to add to the what we do have. Is he going to be a regular first team starter when Bentancur's back? Difficult to tell at the moment, isn't it? If we're switching to a 3-man midfield, a 3-5-2 if you like, you'd say Basuma's starting then. If we're sticking with a 3-4-3, is Bentancur and Højbjerg ahead of him still? Will he be warming the bench? Richarlison, is he going to be a regular first team starter? He's going to get games, but is it going to be that many? Have we really pushed on with that first 11? I'd say it's been a bit disappointing from that point of view. You could say we've added some quality to the squad overall, and at least we're not looking in some places, looking over our shoulder and thinking who's going to go in the team if Sonny or Kulusevski has an injury. At least we do have somebody that's an obvious replacement. It's minor improvements, but for me, it's disappointing because I look at what perhaps we could have done and would argue should have done, and it's been a missed opportunity for me because how long are we going to have the likes of Conte at the club? If we don't push the boat out as soon as we possibly can for him, it could all be too late. He might just be moving on. We don't get that job done. We don't see what things could have been. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, they're pushed. Well, Sonny is 30 now. I think Kane's 29 now, is he? It's not
30.
that many years before they're in their twilight.
I think one of them's 30, one's nearly 31, aren't they?
30 and 29.
Oh, just 30 and 29, is it? Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're coming towards the twilight of their career. If we're still saying, oh, yeah, we just need a couple more transfer windows, that's their career, Kane's career gone with us without really fulfilling his potential. And it's because we haven't gone for it. We haven't acted like that football is the primary product of this club, which I believe it should be. It seems to reek of just balancing the books constantly. Yeah, I'll take on board Shawnee's point about running a business that way, and that is what ENIC do. So I suppose
everyone does it that way, mate. Everyone does. We're just looking at Tottenham in a micro lens, but everyone does it. Like, the Glazers are just as guilty of business. They're just more brutal, right? They haven't paid down a single penny of the debt on that $1 billion that they took out to buy Manchester United. They pay the interest every year with Manchester United revenues, and they take 27. Bearing in mind, Manchester United, I forget the number. I think it was like £27 million that they bought it for, and then they leveraged the rest of the debt. And ever since then, they've been taking 25 to 30 million pound or dollars, whatever, a year
and to be
in
fair,
dividends, and haven't paid a fucking penny down on the nominal debt. There's no nominal change, and we think that we've got bad owners. Right,
and to be fair, the Man United fans are up in arms about it.
There's every reason to be.
Philip, before we get on to Shawnee Coover, Michael Tucci says transfer deadline day.
Yeah,
well, it hasn't happened today. We know that, but I mean, overall, you've got to. The transfer window isn't just on one day; it's 2 months or whatever when it starts, the 1st of July to the 1st of September, and we did sign 7 or 8 players. So today was a dud, but not the rest of it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, Michael, let us know in the chat, man. Do you agree? Do you disagree? But really appreciate the support, brother. Big yourself up, my man. Shawnee. Now, I think coming into this window, a lot of it was about keeping the likes of Conte happy, signing enough to show Harry Kane that, for him to stick around and see the project through and maybe sign a new contract. In your eyes, have we done enough for both to get them to stay here and sign a new contract and commit to this football club going forward?
Kane and Conte?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, listen, one of the reasons, because I obviously I've spent the last, I don't know however long, I've been on half an hour, whatever, talking largely in defense of the levies and the spend, right? But I'll be honest, like I also think that we should have done and could have done a lot better with certain areas of the team. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I definitely think we needed a better right wing back and centre back. For me, the thing that reassures me is when I hear Conte say, "We need," and I'm quoting this, "we need at least 2 more windows to become to get there, right? To be able to compete." When I hear the word "we" rather than "they," I feel reassured that Conte's in for the long haul. In terms of Kane, all I'm hearing from the various, the likes of Ali Gold or whatever, that the people that know the insides and outs of the club better than any of us, I hear that there's very well received intentions there from all parties. I do think it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg, though. I think that Kane doesn't want to commit until Conte does, and I think that Conte's not in any rush to commit. And so, in my heart, I feel like everything is going to be fine for both of them to spend at least another couple, 2-3 years. I think that Kane will probably spend. I hope he will sign a 4-year extension. And I hope that will, whoever comes first. But in my head, I am worried about who shits or gets off the pot first, right? And one of them, I think, is waiting for the other, and the other is waiting for the first guy. And I think that there's other people like Bastoni that are waiting in the wings, I hope, that are also waiting to see whether or not Conte and Kane commit. I think that maybe part of the frustration of the window is that some of the big names that Tottenham have been looking at have come back, and it hasn't been necessarily mentioned. But I think a lot of it is based on, I'm on board the Tottenham project as long as the Tottenham project doesn't fall apart anytime soon. And there's two major parts that will require that to happen, and both of them require Conte and Kane to sign contracts. So, do I think that they're going to happen? In my heart, I think they do. They will. In my head, I want one of them to get a wriggle on. Right? I want Harry Kane. Like, for me, the window's closed. Okay, see it how you see it. If we get Harry Kane to sign a new contract between now and the World Cup, that to me is more important than anything else, because the knock-on effect, the domino effect of what that means is Conte will probably commit. It would also probably mean that in January we increase the likelihood of being able to convince a Bastoni to sign a contract to come in the summer, and then suddenly Tottenham have got everything in place to go on for the next 3 or 4 years. Absent one of those people signing a contract means the absence of the other, means that we're all of us are in limbo around the future of Tottenham.
Interesting. I'll keep that thought, Shawnee, because I also have a comment there from William Kelly. But Michael's getting back after his super chat. He says, I do agree with Philip that our previous business in the window has improved the squad, but our heads have changed over the last week, and we need bolstering in the midfield. Or our needs have changed. Oh, yeah, 100% fair point, my man. Absolutely fair point. Carl Simpson was slagging me saying about someone saying Kane's legs is gone. Look, I'll let it pass today. He caught me on a good day. I'll get him tomorrow. Mark New says, Sean is 100% right. Conte says we need 2 more windows. Hopefully this looks good for the future. We need a big window in January. Big yourself up, my man. We will get into talking a bit about January. But Sean, before I move on to the next part, which I want to start discussing, I've Tottenham showed enough ambition. We'll start with Philip on that again. But Sean William Kelly, he says, Levy's child, I'll tell you what gives me a hard on. Sending money.
Well, listen, mate. I think you sent a couple of super chats to our channel earlier, and I very much appreciate it. I actually forgot to acknowledge at the end of the show everyone that sent a super chat. So I'm saying it now to you. Thank you very much for the super chat then. And I'm guessing Dave is going to say thank you very much for the super chat now.
Yeah, big up, William. Really appreciate it. I think you might have to come up with a new name. Levy's child doesn't trigger him as much as it used to, so I think you're going to have to come up with a different one, my man. But big up, William Kelly. Really appreciate the support, lad. And Faz Radfar is leading me into the next point here. He says, can't challenge for the league title with one transfer window, which is a fair point, my man. And I agree. Look, I think everybody will agree Rome wasn't built in a day. But I think where the argument comes in is maybe the constant cycle of projects, and maybe saying this an awful lot of the time. I think that's where it comes in, Fazzy boy. But Philip, and look, we can all have our say on this one, guys. I mean, Philip, do you think we've done enough in this transfer window? Do you think we've shown ambition? Because the aim was to maybe catch Liverpool and City. Look, my aim personally was to win the Premier League, and I'll always have that aim no matter what squad we have until it's taken away from me. But you personally, have Tottenham shown enough ambition to try and catch the likes of Liverpool and City with the business we've done?
Well, I think Faz's comment kind of sums it up for me there. We can't challenge with one transfer window. Okay, early in the transfer window, we made all the signings. We all said, yeah, we're going to win the league. We're going to do this, that, and the other. Like, realistically, we have to say our ambition this season is to finish third behind Chelsea or behind Liverpool and Man City in whatever order they finish up in, And I think the question about Conte and whether he's going to commit long term, I think his press conference tomorrow is going to be very interesting, because you can be sure he's going to be asked the question, are you satisfied with the transfer window? And whatever his answer is, cryptic as it may be, we'll be able to get an idea what his thinking is. Like, I do know he did say earlier in the week he needed more than one window to build the squad up to the level that he wants. I'll take that as a positive, because he's saying we need to build up the squad over the next couple of windows. So I'm hopeful he's going to stay. Have we been ambitious enough? I'll go back to the fact is I'm sure we tried to sign more players than we actually did. Whether we ever get to hear about them, I don't know. We've been successful in signing some good players. We missed out on a couple of positions that we needed strengthening in. I'm sure that will be addressed either in January or in July next year. As long as Conte is at the helm, I think we'll all be happy, because as Sean said, if Conte commits, Harry Kane will commit, and it'll start a chain reaction of attracting players, especially with the World Cup coming up, because there's going to be a shop window for players. There's going to be players coming through in the World Cup that we will want to buy next summer. And with Conte at the helm, that's going to be a great asset, because we have a good season this season. Next season will be even better.
Yeah, 100%. And Kuva Ellie says we needed a centre-back signed early doors, as Dyer is a big liability, and we rode our luck to be undefeated. Chelsea match, we got showing up. Our goal was peppered, and West Ham and Forest could have beaten us. So looking at maybe the manner of the performances and, the signings we've made, do you believe we've made or shown enough ambition to catch the likes of City and Liverpool, which was the goal this summer?
Well, not even close. No, nowhere near to catch the likes of City and Liverpool. We'd have to have an insanely brilliant window, more than anything we've ever seen before in our history. And we'd also need the likes of Manchester City to slip up. That's the only way we'd be winning the league this season. But I mean, we've done so little of what we need to do that I find it really deflating. It's depressing. It's for me, it's the usual. It's usually starting off with we can't, and then it ends with one window. How many times have I heard that in the last 20 years? It's always we can't do this, we can't do that. The more often than not, it's we don't do this, or we choose not to do this, and then we end up with the smoke screen over across the club and the wool pulled over the eyes. We're doing this. We're building for the future. One for the future. These ones are coming in next season. It's going to be better next season. Be patient. It's always the same stuff. See it over and over.
Can I ask you a question? Who's actually saying that? Who's actually coming out with those comments? I've never heard them. That we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. No one's ever said that.
Well, what like Rome being built in with
by somebody in the knows, but technically some of them don't know nothing. So, I can take your point, but I'd like to know who you're attributing the quotes to, because I don't think they've been made by the club.
What point? Which part of the quote?
No, but you're saying we're going to do this next season. We're going to do that. We're going to do the other.
Fans say that right the way. Always saying that. It's regular.
Yeah, the fans don't dictate the transfer policy. It's the club that does that. So really, it can only be what the fans say is immaterial in a case like that. You know what I'm saying? If the club makes a statement that we are going to sign X, Y, and Z, then doesn't do it. Fair enough. They've got their own. They've made a hanger. They're hanging themselves. But fans saying it doesn't really mean a lot, because fans have no control over the transfer policy.
Well, we're not privy to what goes on in most of that at the club, but this is a fan channel, so it's speculation.
Yeah, but I'm saying the way you were saying it, it looked as if you were quoting somebody in the club was saying those things when they're not.
No. I'm saying that it's the process we go through over and over again. Club does one thing, we say, got to be patient. So you get a portion of fans saying, "Yep, be patient. We can do this. Can't do it in one window. Got to do it in several windows." Then we change manager again. Direction changes. The style of football changes. Then, of course, then we start saying, can't be done in one window. It's got to take a little bit of time. It's the same thing. So recycling the same thing over and over. It's all we ever do. The direction is not consistent. That's always been my big gripe with the whole ownership we've had.
Who would you like to own the club, Kuv?
Well, ideally, I'd have it.
No, I mean, in reality, though, I know that you spend a lot of time with the guys, that are vehemently Levy out, right? And I'm always curious to know who it is that do you or does anyone from the Levy out camp identify a name of someone that they're willing to hang their hat on?
Thing. It's not necessarily about Levy being out. It's about us changing what we do. Levy could be there and still change it.
No, but we couldn't change it, right? Like, there's no chance that ENIC would ever spend 400 million quid.
No, I'm not talking about finance, Sean. I'm talking about just having a consistent way of addressing how the clubs run, footballing side of it.
Right, but a lot of people are comparing our window to Chelsea, right? And I'm like, and I've seen channels saying Chelsea no longer have oil money. Look what they've done. Explain your argument now. And I'm saying, who is it? Who is it that people in Levy out want to own the club? I'm not challenging. I'm not trying to incite anything. I'm just curious, like, because whenever I've asked the question, the answer comes back with, "I'm not here to fucking find the buyer of a club," which is a very easy answer, right? Like, they're not happy with what you have, but they don't know who they want. It's like you're on a plane, you're flying somewhere, and at some point mid-flight, they decide that they don't like the pilot, and they kick the pilot out of the plane, and they have no idea whether there's anybody else on board who's capable of flying the plane into land. I'd love to know, who is it that is, like, if it's oil money that you want, that's okay. Just tell me. Like, I want someone to say, are you okay with dirty money laundering money? People, are you okay with that? I'd love to know if that's the answer. It's okay. I just want to know where, because I think people are afraid of saying that, yes, I want a Saudi Arabia. I want someone to come in who's got all the money in the world. That's what that's what I think is the truth. But I don't think people are prepared to say it. I'd love to know who it is that they would like to own the club.
I'd say I wouldn't touch Saudi money with a barge pole. I'd nearly support.
Neither would I. Neither would I. But, like, I don't know what the alternative is.
What I will say is fans have no say. If someone comes in with the money, it's up to the Premier League to stop that sort of stuff from happening. And look, I don't know whether Kuva was
that
I very much doubt whether there's anybody that's got billions of pounds in the bank that hasn't done some very shady dealing at some point.
Yeah,
but it's a question of how far do you want to accept. Yeah, so
okay.
For me,
sorry, David. That's an inappropriate question. I apologise.
Look, you're allowed to ask each other questions. I have no problem with that. No problem with that. But yeah. Look, we're going to move on.
I'm sure Sean remembers my old answer to this. I always said Amazon.
Yeah, but Amazon wouldn't spend like willy-nilly money. You know.
But, I mean, the point is with this, it's just that I'm not happy to accept what's going on at the club. If Levy changes his ways and we do start getting a coherent recruitment staff in behind him on the footballing side, so we have a similar style of play that becomes associated with us like it used to be, and we can continue that and appoint managers of similar style to keep that line going and bring up players through the grassroots of the club up to the first team level, all playing that style of football. Everybody knows which direction we're going. You don't have to train players to a new position because they will know what's required. If we did all of those sorts of things, that would, for me, would fundamentally change the way the club's being run. We don't have to do it by billions of pounds being thrown in from some dodgy investor. It can be done. It's just that it's frustrated me that it hasn't been done like that. We do change direction all the time. As for investors coming in, I know there's plenty of people that would happily take oil money if it just meant seeing big transfers in and winning some trophies. People of my age.
Are you one of them?
Well, to an extent, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I'd love to see us win a league title before I'm dead. I mean, that's something, but I don't see it happening under current circumstances.
Oh, well, look, we have a few super chats to get to. We'll crack on with them and then we'll crack back into the window. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. William Kelly says, I love you, Shawnee. You always make me laugh. I better make sure the missus sees this super chat. I was going to say, I think you should make sure she doesn't see the super chat, William, because she might be a bit jealous, I'll be honest with you. You know, she might put you in the
How you
doghouse.
doing? How you doing, William? How you doing?
You got William Kelly. Really appreciate support, brother. He also said, here's a question. What if we get to the January transfer window and we were sold the narrative that the January window is notoriously hard to sign players? What then? We'll start with Philip and then we'll get Kuva on this one and then I'll throw a few more Shawnees.
But I think everybody that follows football knows the January transfer window isn't the best one to buy players in. I think that's been proven. And I think unless a player that we were trying to get hold of this summer becomes available in January, I don't see a huge amount of business being done in January. It'll be done next July or August. So, you know, we might be told that the narrative isn't right, but in this case, it's usually correct. You know, you see very few huge transfers in January. I know we've done the exception a couple of times in years gone by, but that's the exception rather than the rule. So I really don't expect to see a huge amount of business done. Now, the only caveat to that is the World Cup finishes in December, and players that make an impact in the World Cup may be possibly on the market this January, which makes it kind of unique to have a tournament in the middle of the winter that will maybe put them in the shop window for January. So that's the only thing I can see changing. Other than that, I don't think January is going to be a big transfer.
Just on that, Philip, do you think then potentially we could be holding back for January? We've looked at the fixtures that we've got coming up. They've backed themselves to have enough to get through it, and they could be holding out for January.
It's a risky thing to do. It really is, because like we could end up. We've so many players going to the World Cup in November and December. We could end up with a pile of injuries come January. You know, so you just don't know. You just hope that the players come through it unscathed. No, in our luck, that won't happen to us, you know. And then we might have to do the business in January, but that would be akin to a panic buy and not getting the actual players that we want, just getting somebody in to fill the gap till the players are back from injury.
Do you know what? And just for me, it's not a myth that the January transfer window is hard to operate in. It is. Every club says it. Every manager, every owner of football says it now. But it does not mean you can't do business in January. But usually it's a knock-on effect. You might have a target, you have to wait for them to get a replacement. They have to wait for the next club to get a replacement. They should
extend the window from either January the 1st to February, to March the 1st, or December the 1st to February the 1st. 1 month is crazy limited to be able to find adequate replacements to whatever you want to do. If you want to sell, or adequate whatever the other way, they should extend it by 60 days. I don't understand the need to limit it to 30 days. It doesn't make any sense by European law. It doesn't make any sense. Like they had to do it because of employment law, but there's no need to limit it to 1 month. I think that's a marketing thing to keep the anticipation of fans high throughout January. It's very strange. Very strange.
Just a matter of interest, Sean. What they have to do it by employment law?
Yeah.
How does that work, mate?
What do you mean? How does it work?
Well, they had to have transfer windows because of the employment law.
Yeah.
I've not heard this part to it before.
Well, I'm not fully versed on it. Essentially, the idea of contracts, right? The idea of players having, or anyone being short-term employed on contract law. The reason why they broke it up was because the European Union changed the law on to be entirely honest, mate. I'll be honest, I don't know the details, but I do know it's because of employment law that brought in the January transfer window. I can find out for you, and I'll let you know after the fact, or I can let you know on another window.
I don't know off the top of your head.
No, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know the rules behind it, but I do know it's because of employment law in the European Union that was the start of the January window. I'm not educated on the actual details.
Fair enough. So it's an EU thing rather than the Premier League bringing it in. Basically, they had to. They had
to do it. Yeah, they had to do
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. I'll have a look at that after. I'll look into that. But big up William Kelly. And what I will say is last January on deadline day, we did sign two, Bentancur and Kulusevski. So could we do it this January? We'll wait and see. It'd be interesting to see if, you know, they have maybe looked at the market and said, well, like Philip was saying, we'll wait until the World Cup is over and you might see a bit more activity this January. It's a bit unusual, but we'll wait and see, William Kelly. But big yourself up. I mean, just quickly, Kuva, do you think January is another hard window to operate in, a lot harder than the summer? Or do you think it's just more or less the same, you know, going by the player you want?
I'm thinking by January, money will cease to exist at that point. You're spending millions to get a lump of coal. Anyway, yeah, I think the January window, you could argue that has Conte used this sort of get out of jail free card? No, not Conte. Paratici used his get out of jail free cards with Bentancur and Kulusevski last year. Are there any quick signings to be made in a panic? Because that seems to be what the January window is about for not just us in this case, but a lot of clubs. Because it is difficult to get players through. I think everybody sort of accepts that. There's occasional ones that are talked about well in advance, like there may be deals that didn't get pushed through in the summer that suddenly come into fruition in January. But yeah, it's a lot harder, isn't it?
It is. But big up, William. Just quickly, everybody, the transfer window has officially closed. No, I was going to wind you up. I'm actually not even going to do that today. I was going to pretend that there's one that maybe we needed a bit of extra time for, but I won't even do that to you guys today. But sorry, Sean, you had your hand up, my man.
Why was the January transfer window introduced? The windows were introduced as part of a compromise agreement with the European Commission about how the whole transfer system worked and how it could best preserve contractual stability for both the player and the club while allowing movement at prescribed times during the year. The alternative was to bring it in line with most other industries within contract law where contracts were not enforceable or liable for appropriate compensation, i.e. notice periods being served and players moving at will. Long story short, I still don't understand the answer, but it's something to do with employment law and it's something to do with the European Union.
Big up. There you go. There's your answer, everybody. There is your answer. But look, enough messing around with what's that word I like, Shawnee, that uses semantics.
That's a new segment, isn't it? Shawnee Explains.
No more semantics. We're going to take these super chats. We're going to get back into it. Faz Ralphar says, like with like, we're 8 points ahead of last season. I'd agree with that. I think that is, a lot of points that we did drop last season. I definitely think I'd agree with that, Faz Ralphar. Definitely glass half full, my man. Big yourself up. Really appreciate support. Stefan Bloy says, is there for us all to see with our eyes, Phillips? Or it's there for us all to see with our eyes, Philip. I don't even remember what that's about, to be honest. Stefan, put in the comments and let us know what that's in relation to, my man, and I'll put it back to Philip. Big yourself up.
I think it's probably to do with my question to Kuva about who said it in the club. I think that's probably it. Remember, and there's.
Oh yeah. That's probably it. Well, what do you want to say to him, Philip?
Well, I mean, it's it might be there for us to see with our eyes, but it's coming from the fan base, not from the club. So unless it comes from the club, it's not any relevant, really, to be honest, because we don't have any influence in what happens. You know, club. I don't think clubs listen to their fans too much, anyway. You know,
I wish they listened to me anyway, for sure.
Yeah, I know. Wish they would.
Big up, Stefan Blaise. Really appreciate support, brother. I have a couple more to get to here. William Kelly says, I'm away to the UAE to horn myself to the Sheiks. I'm willing to take one for the team. You'll be locked up, my man. I believe a lot of that stuff is legal over there. I've never been, but there won't be any more William Kelly. You'll have to turn into Ned Kelly, that outlaw from Australia.
Very good. Very good, Dave. I like that.
I'm proud of that. Especially at 11 o'clock at night.
Nice.
Big up William Kelly. Nickname now Ned Kelly.
It's only early in the morning in Australia.
William probably hasn't even heard me. He's probably out the back practicing his shooting and everything to turn into Ned Kelly. Baz Radfar says Chelsea spending is not ambition, it is dodgy. Oh, controversial one here, guys. I mean, look, we'll let Kuva go first, and then we'll let one of Sean or Philip come in on this. I mean, Kuva, it's not ambition, it's dodgy.
Don't see why it's dodgy, to be honest. They got money they're allowed to spend. They're splurging it, and they can splurge it, and they are splurging it. They obviously got. I think it's ambition. They want to do well with the club instantly, but it could backfire. doesn't look so clever then, does it? So
True.
we'll see how that one goes. But certainly, if you've got the ability to do that and you've got the money available, and that is your aim, is to make an instant impact on the team, spend the money.
I
Interesting.
think they had to buy a back four because they got rid. Like their back four has been decimated. Rudiger's gone, Christensen's gone, Alonso's gone back to Barcelona, so they had to buy, and they paid over the odds for those players.
Striker mainly as well, really, wasn't it?
And
They
they bought
didn't have
Aubameyang as well, you know. So no, I think that they've it mightn't be dodgy, but it's certainly inflated. I think that's the prices they pay were certainly inflated. And the clubs that sold the players to them knew Chelsea were desperate to sign players and adjusted their price accordingly, and they've gone and paid it. So, you know, their choice, their money.
That's fair. That's fair. Shawnee, I mean, do you find it dodgy instead of ambitious?
I find it risky. I don't know if it's dodgy or not. Like, who knows, right? You have to wait until they have to release their first financial results to sort of dig around. But to me, they bought Chelsea at $1 billion cheaper than they would have to have bought it. Maybe even more than that on the real market if it wasn't for Abramovich being forced to sell. So, if you're someone who's buying a distressed asset, it makes sense as an investor to take the money that you're saving and then invest a slice of that, whether it's 30-40%. And Chelsea have done that. They also get, listen, it depends on whether you actually think the FFP is worth its weight, like if it means anything at all. But if you believe it does, under the new laws of FFP, Chelsea get like an additional 2 years to even make amends anyway. So like the amount of money they're spending, they could spend another 200 million right now and they haven't got to worry about it for another 3 or 4 years. So like it's insane to think that they're spending 300 million. They could continue to spend money because they have the money to spend apparently, and they haven't got to worry about that stuff because they have a new investor with new ownership, and the rules of FFP get diluted and get extended when that's the case. So I don't think it's dodgy necessarily. I just think or ambitious. It's risky. I just want to quickly point out one thing before you move on.
Yeah.
Dan James has officially signed for Fulham. Carlos Vinicius has officially signed for Fulham. Do you think, on any stretch of the imagination, that either or both of those players are people are going to play against us on the weekend? And Dan James just maybe took a look at Twitter and saw that basically 99% of the Tottenham fan base went, no, thank you. And on Sunday or Saturday, he's going to go, I'm going to go score a goal against those bastards at Tottenham.
He scored against us when he played for Leeds. Remember, Leeds went ahead.
He scored last season. He scored against us
I'll be
last
honest,
season.
I'm glad he did. I think both of them are shy anyway, to be honest with you. So I'm actually glad they didn't come here because for me, there's no difference keeping Gil Messi and giving him the opportunities or bringing in Dan James unknown. So
I agree.
We'll come back to this one, Robbie. We will come back to this one.
That certainly wouldn't be the first time that a player's got the hump over a team and Joe goes out and puts one past them.
Yeah, 100%.
But just 2 foot the fucker, you know? That's what I say. It's my answer to everything. To be honest with you. Dan Coy says, deadline day over, super chat. Big up to yourself, Dave and Jack and guests for keeping us entertained over the summer period. Come on, you Spurs. Well, look, my man, I really appreciate that, brother. Look, we all try our best. Everyone tries their best to put out content, different types of content and stuff like that over the summer. It's a hard one to navigate, believe me, but I appreciate the thoughts, my man. I appreciate the comments. We do try our best. So big up, Danny. Disappointing end to the window. No business done today. But look, I don't know why I'm disappointed because I didn't get up early because I knew. I got up, took my time, had a cappuccino, 2 slices of toast. I didn't even turn on deadline day morning, and I got out of bed late as well. I had a bit of an eye on because I just knew it wasn't there. No point in getting out of bed at 7 a.m., Dan. It's disappointing, but look, it is what it is, my man. Well, yeah, it is what it is, Dan. Big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. Neil Thomas says, big up, lads. Great panel and show. Really appreciate that, my man. Really do appreciate that. I'm glad you're enjoying it, brother. And then we've got this from Rob Wallace, and we're going to take this. And then I'm steering away from all the Enoch in and Levy out stuff because I want to talk the rest of the transfer window after this. Rob Wallace says, I've never been Enoch Levy out. I'd never even heard of it until I started watching the Spurs YouTube channels. We spent a lot of dollars on the stadium, so none on players. Then we bought poo players. So basically, he's trying to understand it. So, Kuva, you can give it from your side maybe. And then, Philip and Sean want to come in on whatever they want to say. They're more than welcome. And then I want to ask a few more questions, and then we'll end off.
Oh wow, this one's
Try and do it as quick as you can. I go to the toilet.
Lack of trophies. Lack of trophies is the biggest metric for why people are unhappy with ENIC. One League Cup in 22 years just is tragically little for a club of our stature. We've got a great history. We used to winning trophies. We've had lean times. We have come back from bankruptcy under Sugar. We were supposed to kick on. Now the stature of the club has raised, and we are one of the richest clubs around. We have a great stadium. We even have a great manager in place. Everything is right except for when it comes to on the pitch, and we're always falling short of that little bit extra that's needed to get us over the line. And a lot of us feel that it's down to the chairman. We never go that extra mile when we could do that. We never pull out the stops, and we never maintain a consistent approach to what's going on off the field. We chop and change manager willy-nilly. We'll sack managers just before a major cup final. We'll sack managers at half time in a match. It's behaviour and mannerisms and traits from the chairman that have been spread over a long course of time, and we're always stuck at that level below where we think we should be achieving things. And is that down to the overall view that ENIC are here to just basically get the cash cow into place and then milk it? Tis for the likes of me. I don't see the extra. I don't see us pushing the boat out at times when we could have done to get us over the line, turn us into a successful trophy-winning team. And it's happened time and time again for me. A lot of us are annoyed with it. I think if we'd had a few trophies coming at that time, even if we fluked some, there would have been a lot less flack going towards Levy. But it's still an underlying thing. We don't really go push the boat out when we could do.
And if lack of trophies is the catalyst for the Levy out, then the catalyst for not being Levy out, Rob, is the lack of appreciation for the context and the nuance of what it takes to win a trophy, and the recognition of where we were to where we are, and how much more difficult it is today to win a trophy than it was 20 years ago, and the general progress and the process that Tottenham have gone through from the team that Tottenham Hotspur were in 2001, and the environment in which football was conducted in 2001, to the world in which football is conducted today, and the team we are today. And some people would like to take a pause and breath and say, we're actually far better off than the 99% of teams that don't have oil money. And the only teams that have done better than us, other than oil money clubs, in the last 20 years, are teams that have always been better than us anyway. And that generally speaking, Tottenham have moved from a team that were an occasional cup winning team that always finished bottom half of the table to a team that go deep in most competitions in the cup, but don't get there necessarily because of the difference in the other teams and the oil money that's taken over, but have progressed and that have kept us involved in the league and excited by our ongoing performances every year.
Well, there you are, Robbie. I mean, make your own decision up. You could be either or you could sit in the middle. Philip, anything you want to say to Robbie before I move on?
Yeah, I'm presuming he's talking the fact that he mentioned the stadium and not spending money on players. I'm taking he's talking roughly the last 5 years or so since we moved out of White Hart Lane and built the new stadium. I think we had a very dodgy transfer policy and a very dodgy scouting policy, and I put the blame for that totally on Steve Hitchen and the people that appointed him because he just wasn't up to the job. Now that he's gone, I don't think anyone can say we've signed poo players in the last year or so. Okay, I think the last disaster that we signed was probably Ndombele 2 years ago, whenever. We've made quality signings this year, which hopefully will bring us the rewards that Sean was talking about there. And like I said, we're probably the envy of the footballing world with our facilities. right? And if we can only bring the success on the pitch up to match that, like we're never going to match the spending power of Manchester City or as even Newcastle
Chelsea.
in a couple of years' time, Chelsea.
Newcastle. Yeah.
Newcastle in a couple of years' time are going to be a threat. So the time is now to start winning trophies before these oil companies come in again and buy another club. Like they could buy a club like Fulham and turn them into Manchester City with the financial power that they've got. So and unless Enoch sell out to someone like that, we're going to find.
And do you want someone like that? Is the question that I asked earlier, right? Do you want someone like that?
I don't mind if money comes in that's legitimately earned.
Same.
I do not want money coming in that's dirty money. That's money from a country that doesn't practice human rights, or like Saudi Arabia. So I would draw the line at that. I think Manchester City's money is borderline crooked because they flaunt the rules every season to get away with
more than borderline, Phil.
We'll be nice to them by saying that, And Chelsea, we know that was pure rotten from day one. So Abramovich came in, So at least the new owner is probably cleaning Chelsea up a little bit from that point of view. But the stain will always be there while the players that Abramovich bought are still at the club.
And apart from those teams, the only teams that have done better than us in the last 20 years are teams that have always done better than us. Arsenal, Man United, and Liverpool.
Right.
That's it.
Well, there you are, Rob. You've heard it.
We're not getting onto this argument about what success is again, are we?
Oh, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. Look, everybody has different opinions. That's fine. I'm not getting into semantics on that stuff. But, big up Rob Wallace. You've heard it from Kuva's side, heard it from Sean's side, and heard it from Philip. It's up to you now to make up your own mind, brother. But big yourself up, Robbie. Hopefully, maybe that's probably cleared it up a little for you, my man. But big yourself up. Absolutely. Really appreciate the support, my man. Absolutely, really appreciate it. But look, guys, we'll keep moving. I have a few more things I want to ask you about this window before we end off. And what I want to ask is basically with all the signings we've made, have we made any marquee signings in your opinion? And we'll start with Philip and we'll work our way around.
Oh, it depends what you mean by marquee. There's big marquees and the small marquees. I suppose the player that we bought, like the one that didn't cost us anything, that potentially could be marquee signing is Perisic. I mean, the guy's a proven winner. I'm hoping Bissouma will, the guy comes with such a reputation. I'm hoping he'll be able to transfer his Brighton form over to Spurs. And also, I think Richarlison possibly could be. I wouldn't call them marquee signings. A marquee signing is someone like, oh God, I don't know who'd class as a marquee signing. Okay, United signing Ronaldo, that's a marquee signing. PSG signing Messi, that's a marquee signing. I don't think we've quite reached those levels, but we've reached. Let's say that we've reached a big tent rather than a marquee.
Interesting. Kuva, I mean, have we even got to a big tent in your eyes? Do you think we have made a marquee? Do you even think Perisic is a marquee, even though it's free?
Yeah, for me, Perisic is a marquee signing. He's top quality. That's what we need. It doesn't matter. This the argument about we don't have to spend big if we're spending properly. Perisic is a good example of that. Free transfer. Absolutely world-class player. He's right up there with the best around in Europe, and he's already been showing it in such a quick amount of time at the club. The quality is there for all to see. We don't do that enough. That's the problem. It's for every Perisic we sign, we'll sign the Gallinis and the Gedson Fernandez and that sort of thing. It's just we just need to be consistent with what we're doing. I don't feel we are.
Interesting. Shawnee, any marquee signings for you? Philip says maybe a big tent. Kuva's gone with Perisic. Anything for you? Even Bissouma, even we got him half the price. I mean, Richarlison, or do you think we haven't made any?
I don't think we made any marquee signings. I think we've made good signings, astute signings. I think some of them have been. I understand, like I said earlier, I understand why people think that the window's underwhelming. I totally get it. Yeah. I choose to see it in a different light, but I understand why people would see it a different way. For me, it's not like a right or wrong. It's just a spectrum in between. For me, there's no marquee signings. I think that Perisic is a very good signing, a very good player. I was saying this to you earlier, man. Watching him yesterday, it's little things like the cadence in which he does the step overs. They're languid and slow, but they're so consistent in the pace that there's no giveaway, there's no tells. It's like playing poker, and you got some guy who's got, like, whether he's bluffing you or he's got 4 aces, you can't tell from any part of Perisic when he's got the ball at his feet, because he's doing this step over with such consistency and pace that no one's going to know whether he's going to drop his shoulder on the left foot or the right foot. And I think it's brilliant. But is he a marquee signing? No, because he's 33. Is Basuma a marquee signing? No. Was he great value? Yes. Is he going to improve us? Yes. But I don't think we necessarily need a marquee signing. I think we needed more than what we got, probably. But I don't think we have a marquee signing, to be honest, now.
Okay. Interesting. Well, there you are, guys. Let us know in the chat. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or have we made a marquee signing? Let us know. Fazzy Radfar says taxi for Brendan Rodgers, who snubbed us last summer. I mean, yeah, it looks like has he been sacked? It looks like he's probably out the door. I don't know. Someone update me in the chat. Has he been sacked? Because
I called Leicester. Like, I'm not one who says I told you so, but on Leicester, I've been calling it for a while. And I asked Bob Spur. I called this in May. I said that Leicester are going to struggle to stay up. Kuva, you remember, right? Yep. I've been saying it for ages. I think Leicester were, and I saw somebody else earlier saying Leicester, as in look at the success. Yeah, they had momentary success, but they came up very quickly and they're going to fall away very quickly. Leicester are finito. Like, Alex, see you later.
It's his favourite club, along with Brighton. Alex.
At least Alex acknowledges me when I said they are finito a long time ago, and now he came on the other day and he said, "You were right, Sean. You were right, Sean."
Jeez, I mean, I take that as a win, to be honest.
No, that's a win in itself.
You never get that again. But Philip, Rob Wallace says, yes, Philip, I was talking about the Burger Kid and his pal Lo Celso. He's on about Endon Burgers and the shit show. Thanks for your answers. I agree with both Sean and Kuva. How much to buy Spurs? Philip, I mean, what do you want to say to the first part and that? And then, how much... How much have you got, Rob?
I was thinking he was talking about Burger King anyway, or Ndombele and Lo Celso. How much to buy Spurs? Jesus, I don't know.
It's probably a headache you don't have.
Like, they're buying $1 billion worth of real estate, plus whatever else Tottenham have bought up around the area. I mean, they bought up a load of houses around the ground as well. So. Not that Levy will sell, but I would say you're talking 2.5, 3 billion. I don't know how Sean and Kuva would figure that. Is that enough or is it too much?
Much more than that. That the shares that were issued for that 150 million quid were valued at the equivalent of 7.5 billion. Right, so if you take the 150 million that they got as a potential injection, they were taking 2.5% increase in equity ownership. Which, if you figure that, you do the math on that, it works out that the actual valuation on the 150 million was 7.5 billion. Now, I know how these things work, and I promise you that the club isn't worth 7.5 billion. But what investors do when initial founders reinvest capital, they reinvest capital at a significantly overvalued price, so that they can then take the club to market and say the last valuation was 7.5 billion, and it's a way of trying to trigger a higher selling price. In reality, they didn't. It's not worth anything like 7.5 billion. It's probably worth like closer to what you're saying, Phil. But the last technical valuation based on money invested versus ownership distributed is at 7.5 billion. It's not real. It's fictitious. It's a tactic or a ploy to trick other people in the future into thinking that it's worth more than it is. But technically, Tottenham's last valuation was at 7.5 billion.
Jesus, you'd need about 50 fans accounts to even try and get anywhere near that. Big up, Rob, my man. I'm glad you enjoyed the answers, my man. And really appreciate the support, brother. Now, guys, I will say I'm quite disappointed with people. There's 300 watching and only 150 likes. That means 50% of you either don't like the stream, but even if you don't like it, smash the dislike. I need to be encouraged to do better on these streams. So if you don't like it, smash the dislike button.
Don't say that, Dave. I tried that once and it was awful. I asked people, if you don't like it, then dislike it. And I looked afterwards and there was like the most amount of dislikes I've ever had.
Big up, though, everybody. If you can smash that like, it would be greatly appreciated. Now, we'll go into the last few talking points I have for this evening, and we'll start with this one and then work our way through. We've only got 3 or 4 left. What do you think of Tottenham's decision not to pursue a centre-back or a cam? And we'll start with you on this, Kuva.
We needed both, definitely. So, well, not so much a cam, but somebody with attacking intent, some sort of either creative player or a game-changing sort of a winger or attacker or another striker, something different to what we've currently got. So there's a bit of spark to the team, bit of devil as well. We got a little bit of that with Richarlison, and there's something different point of view, but we do need it. We are desperately short of ideas at times. Somehow scoring goals while we're doing it, God knows how, but it's working because our front three is so good. But it's the conversation I've had with you so many times, David. So that defense is shocking on the ball.
Yeah.
Even when they defend well, the attacks we build from the back, and the attacks already petered out to nothing because our defenders got hold of it. It's pedestrian at best. Very little goes forward from a lot of them, and we didn't address it. I wish you'd put right wing back on the list.
Do you know what? Do you know what? It's damned if you do and damned if you don't. I'll tell you the reason why I left right wing back out is because we signed Spence. So, but what I tried to do is pull the 2 most common positions out of the fan base opinion. But you can add in positions, Kuva. I mean, feel free. What other positions do you think?
Well, I mean, at the start of the window, before we'd signed anybody, I wanted us to sign 4 wing backs because I thought we needed 2 on each side.
When he went into City that time.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you got a manager who's very dependent on having the wing backs as part of his system, you've got to have them in the squad, haven't you? We haven't really addressed that very well. We have a little bit. I mean, Perisic obviously. Hopefully, Jed Spence comes through, but otherwise, it's the same as we've had before, and they weren't good. They weren't good enough before. Why would they be good enough now?
I agree with that. I mean, Sean, what's your point of view? You know, are you disappointed that Tottenham didn't pursue maybe a centre back and a cam, and any other positions you're disappointed Tottenham haven't pursued before the window closed?
Yeah, I didn't hear what Kuva said. Sorry, I had to go for a bathroom break. But 100%. I think that the centre back is a potential massive banana skin. Not just defensively. Like Dave, I always took your point about Davinson Sanchez. Like, despite the fact that he was brilliant in terms of his defensive capabilities, we spoke about this earlier. Him and Emerson. Like, the fact that they're very good defensively but very awkward offensively means that you force the team into some sort of like distorted 3-4-3 where you push Perisic up the pitch, you push Davies up the pitch, and then it forces Sonny inside. It creates all sorts of indirect problems that haven't been solved for. And for me, not having a centre back, not having a right wing back that is a clear improvement. Is more important to me than a cam, because I think if we had signed a right wing back and if we had signed a centre back, then the cam wouldn't be as necessary, because the formation as it's supposed to be played could have been played in its entirety. The fact that we didn't have a right wing back made everyone think we need something more solid in the midfield. We needed a cam, but the cam wouldn't be necessary had we had a better right wing back. So I definitely feel like there's weaknesses in the squad for, as the window's finished, and it's a shame that we didn't sign the pair of them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Philip, are you disappointed? That we didn't sign a centre back or a cam, or have you even got a positive spin on it? Maybe.
I'm disappointed we didn't sign one, but I do think we did pursue one or more, but just didn't get them over the line. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked that if we didn't actually have targets that we went after, and for one reason or another did not arrive at the club. Because, I mean, if we can see the needs, you can be sure Paratici knows exactly what was needed, and Conte as well. So I would put I'll put a positive spin on it and say that we tried to sign players that did not come now, but hopefully will come in the future whenever they see what we're building at White Hart Lane, building at Tottenham. And that's been kind to the club. I could be totally wrong, but I do feel that Paratici's got his finger on the pulse, and he knows we need a centre back. and probably is very frustrated tonight that we did not get hold of one. As regarding a Cam, a central midfielder, yeah, we probably could have done with one as well. I won't comment on the wing back situation. I actually think possibly, other than we have enough of them, but whether they're good enough or not is another thing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Is there a signing in particular made by a rival club in the Premier League that you think Spurs could or should have made? This is another interesting one. I mean,
that's a great question.
Who wants to go first? Who has the idea in their head? Who has that signing? Who wants to go first?
God, there's too many to think about.
Haaland.
Go on then. Looking at them noisy lot down the road. I would have loved to have us to have got Jesus as well as Richarlison. Okay. I think that would have been really bolstered our attacking options. Other than that, you look at some of the fullbacks. Yeah, another lot, another noisy lot. Paqueta, was it Paqueta? Yeah, it's Paqueta. I think it is.
I don't know if I don't know about him.
He looks a talent. Whether he's going to be a success or not remains to be seen. He's definitely got some skill in there. Bit like Bruno Fernandes. Cucurella, a little bit defensive maybe from my point of view, but yeah, he's better than what we got.
Because you could unleash Perisic in other positions if you got
exactly.
Yeah, true.
That's part of the reason for wanting 4 wing backs.
It's a great question, though, Dave. It's a fucking brilliant question, mate.
No, thank you.
You're looking with jealousy at the likes of Man City signing, obviously, Paul and Alvarez as well.
By the way, you reminded me, I got to take back what I said on Alvarez. I completely got it wrong. I watched him yesterday, and I said he's going to be the next Eric Lamela. But I think I've totally misjudged that one. I'm allowed one, but I think I've totally misjudged that. Jack will be happy. Jack will be seeing that.
Some people might argue he's the second best striker in the world in some ways. We wouldn't because we've got Harry Kane, obviously. But
Sven Botman. I don't know. How's he started at Newcastle? I'm not sure. I don't know about that. I thought he'd be great, but I don't know how he started so well.
It might take a little bit of time. Yeah, there's so many. Do you even look at Arsenal and Zinchenko? Would Zinchenko have improved us? Yeah, he probably would. Yeah, I mean,
what's one that you really look at and you're like, oh, I would have loved to I would have got a jersey with his name and number on my back.
Haaland again.
Maybe the fella from for the Chelsea centre back, not Fofana, the other one.
Fofana.
Koulibaly, yeah, I think Koulibaly's. I think he looks the business, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. Well, it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. Some Chelsea fans or some other fans are not really happy with Koulibaly at the minute. Yeah. Philip, I mean, what signing that's gone to the Premier League clubs that you would have got a jersey with the name and number on your back?
I think Botman in Newcastle, he would have solved the centre half problem. He was mentioning dispatches a lot there at the start, but he chose to go to Newcastle. Maybe we would in for him, I don't know, but Botman would be my pick.
Yeah, I think Botman
perhaps,
for me
perhaps Henderson as well. Would it have been the right time to have signed him?
Or Pope?
Yeah. Next season, maybe.
Yeah, interesting. Well, loads of options there, everybody. You know, a lot to ponder. So everyone, you can think about that great question and come on the fan show tomorrow and tell me your answers. Big yourself up. What else have we got in my little bag of questions here? I've got loads. Quite excited. Yeah, we'll go to this one next.
Pick a question, any question.
After this, we've only got 2 more, and then we're done. What Spurs signing has been your favourite? Is there a Spurs signing that you're a bit skeptical or underwhelmed by? And we'll start with Philip and work our way around the panel. Give me one you're underwhelmed and one that you absolutely adore.
Underwhelmed. Oh dear, that's a tough one. The best one I'm hoping for is Bissouma. I think I've got great hopes for him. Underwhelming. Oh God, I don't want to knock down the confidence of any of the players we brought in. Oh boy, I don't know.
You won't be knocking down the confidence, you know. Surely there's one that maybe came in, you looked at and you're like, oh, I'm not sure.
You can
even pick Tyler Ashcraft from the Utes if you want to.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not really underwhelmed by any of them. I think
Okay,
I'm
that's fair.
underwhelmed by the ones we didn't get. So if I could twist the question around a little bit there and say that we should have done a better business for centre back and whatever. I'm just struggling to. Okay, someone's put down there Fraser Foster. Okay, for one, I still think he's a good goalkeeper. Maybe what Kuva said earlier, we should have gone for Henderson. So,
well, it's okay, Philip. You don't have to have somebody you're not underwhelmed by if there's not. You don't have to make one up.
I'm not really underwhelmed by any of them, to be honest, because I think they can all do a job. I mean, my theory is if Conte likes them, I like them.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. So Bissouma, I think, is Philip's one that he's absolutely loving. I mean, Kuva, yourself, who's been your favourite and who have you been underwhelmed by?
Perisic's sheer quality. Really like that signing. But for me, my favourite is Richarlison. I think he's just winding up the opposition so much. I love it. Real shithousery. I think that's really funny. When the rest of the game isn't going well, you look for players the likes of him, Romero, just to give you a little lift by doing something a bit naughty that really annoys the opposition, rattles them. Underwhelming, you'd have to say Fraser Foster, because it's a sensible signing, but it's not really setting the place alight, is it? Which is a bit unfair to say underwhelming, but that's the way you feel about a player, isn't it? Skeptical Jed Spence, just because we have not seen enough of him. We don't know yet. I felt we should have been getting somebody that's well established, with a bit of European pedigree to him as well. And we're going with a youngster who's had a decent season last season. Remains to be seen. So skeptical, but could you throw in optimism at the same time? Yeah, it's kind of one of those. It's skeptical at the fact that he is that unknown quantity. So is that even the right word? I'll leave it at that because it's the closest I can come to it out of the ones we've signed.
No, that's fair enough. I agree with TZ. The one I'm skeptical about is the one we signed 5 years ago for 42 million from Ajax. Still skeptical about that one, if I'm being honest. Big up TZ. But Shawnee, I mean, player who's been your favourite, and what one do you find underwhelming or skeptical?
I find Perisic, I think, is going to be exceptional. I was a little bit skeptical of him in the first instance. I thought, I don't know if he's going to still want it. I know his talent is undeniable, but I didn't know if at 33, sometimes when a player leaves a certain country to go somewhere else at 33, when he won the World Cup, and I'm kind of like, is he just coming here for a payday? But actually, in the fact that he helped out Sessegnon, the fact that he's the first person that when he's not playing, he goes to Sessegnon for the drinks break, gives him some tips. I think it's going to be that the indirect benefits of someone like Perisic actually are close to the direct benefits, and the direct benefits are plentiful as well. Like I said earlier, I love his ability going forward. Still got a question mark on his defending, but I'm surprised how quickly I have fallen for that man. And the one I am thus far underwhelmed by is Bissouma, but only because he's in the various minutes he had in pre-season and the various minutes he's had in the season. I don't think he's been very good, but I have no doubts that he's going to be a superstar. I'm just judging it on what I've seen thus far, and I haven't seen anything like the Bissouma that I saw at Brighton. So that's where I'm going to go with that one.
Well, that's fair. Everybody else in the comments, get yours in. United Spurs of America says, Dave, what's your thoughts on Adama? Look, I barely wanted him last January. I mean, we were really stuck for players, let alone now when we have a bit more squad depth, to be honest.
You're breaking his heart. You're breaking Jacob's heart.
I know. He's probably sitting there lathering himself up with baby oil, expecting a really good answer from me. I do apologize. I really do. But for me, I mean, I don't think he's much better than Smora. If you want to go right wing back, I don't think he's much better than Emerson. I think he suffers the same problems that we have with some of the players we've had down the years, that the quality in the final third is just not there. And for me, I don't think it's there with Adama. One thing I will say is against big teams, he could bring you single-handedly from one end of the pitch to the other. But what good is that if Harry Kane's back at the halfway line and this guy's already up at the box and stuff like that? But sorry, Jacob, I do apologize, my man. I know you're a big lover of this guy. You can start rubbing off that baby oil. I know you didn't get the answer you wanted. I apologize, my man. Into the last part here, guys, and it is: have we fixed past mistakes we have made in windows, or have we continued to make the same mistakes? And again, we'll start with Shawnee on this one and work our way back actually this time.
Have we fixed past mistakes we have made in windows, or have we continued to make the same mistakes?
And what I mean by that is, in terms of the players out where getting out the bad signings that were made, sort of like under Steve Hitchen and stuff like that, or when you look at the window and the signings and stuff like that, how are we continuing to make same mistakes of years gone by? That's what people would say.
So 3 points on this one. On the one hand, we've done business early rather than late. One of the previous mistakes was waiting until the last minute to do business. I think we got most of our business done early this window, which I think, as we spoke about earlier, the inflation in the window that's happened in the last month has proven to be a good decision. In terms of getting rid of Deadwood, I don't think we have. I think that this process of loaning, because you can't sell, and none of us are privy as to how difficult it is to sell these players. And I don't necessarily think you can throw too much mud at Paratici, because he inherited the players that we're trying to loan out, right? With the exception of Brian Hill, everybody else, Lo Celso, Ndombele, all those guys, they're all people that he inherited and has to try and get rid of. But I do think there's an issue with just loaning out every year, because I think that you end up having to spend too much. It absorbs too much of your time in a very short window to trying to find new homes for people that you don't want, right? So we're kicking the can down the road, and whether it's next summer or whatever, if these players have still got time left on their contract, Paratici is going to have to spend a lot of time again next summer trying to get rid of people that have come back that weren't sold this summer, like he did in January, like he did last summer. And I think that that is a problem that we haven't got better at this summer. So on one hand, I think that, yes, we've learned a little bit of the mistake. We've learned some lessons. We've done business early rather than late. But on the other hand, I'm not sure if it's a mistake. I think it's just it might be just a reality of how difficult it is to move some of this Deadwood on. But I do think that there's going to be a bit of a headache, a hangover from this continuous cycle of loaning players out, because it absorbs the precious moments that you have. There's an opportunity cost. If you can't get rid of them, you're going to have to spend continuous time, which is why I was like, with Ndombele, just give him, like, whoever it was. Who was the club that paid 1 million quid? Was it Napoli?
Napoli.
Just give him, just let him have it. Just go, because we're not going to sell him anyway, right? But next summer we're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to find another home for him. We got 1 million quid for him, like, just write it off as a sunk asset. And I think that there's certain scenarios where, like, this continuous repetition of, or the cycle of loaning players out, it's just a headache that you have to it's like having too many beers on a night out. Like, you know that tomorrow is going to come round to haunt you. And we have to do that every year with the current process of loaning players that we don't want. So we have learned some lessons, but not others.
Fair enough. I mean, Kuva, what's your thoughts? I mean, same mistakes as year gone by, or, we've rectified them and we're acting a bit differently in the market?
No, I think Sean's pretty accurate with what he said there. Definitely a case of we could be doing things a lot better when it comes to players leaving the club, but it's a long-term problem, because we signed players that haven't worked out or are substandard and then bump their wages up. People are just not going to easily want to sign them. Getting rid of some of these players on a free is going to be difficult enough. Although they'll be out of the club, their wages are so high, some of them, for so little ability, it's ridiculous. So we've created our own problems there. But I do agree, getting the transfers in early at the start of the window, that is a big positive for me. That's something I've always wanted us to do, regardless of the Conte sort of push for that. Also, perhaps, the spending the money a little bit more wisely in what we have good. It's not the ridiculous sort of spends on loan deals for people we're never going to play. Gedson Fernandez coming to mind again, or another Jack Clark. Hopefully, we haven't done anything like that again, or we're not about to. So it's starting to shape up a little bit more positively, but there's a way to go yet, because you look at that list of that people loaned out, 10 players, was it? So it's a lot. It really is. And as Sean rightly said, it's something that's going to come back and bite us next year, because what will have changed?
Hopefully they performed. Hopefully they get some rocket fuel for somewhere and perform and they get snapped up. But yeah, I think that is a bit of concern in the terms of the outgoings there. Philip, I mean, same question to you, my man. Do you think we've made strides in this window to replicate mistakes made in the past, or do you see us maybe replicating some of the same mistakes?
Yeah, it's good and bad. Okay, we've got away from the three transfer windows. We bought nobody when we're crying out for players, so we fixed that end of it, and did our business early, which was good, which is completely different than what we usually do. The thing that worries me slightly, and this is probably Conte's fault, by isolating those four players, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, and Reguilon, he's basically put a sign on them: I don't trust these guys. So how does he expect a club to pay big money for them? If they, it's really put a black mark on their report card, if you like. So the best we can hope for is a loan, but I can see problems next summer, because stigma like that will stick with players, and we'll be lucky to get any decent transfer fee for them at all. Like in Ndombele, I would just write him off, because he's gone. The chances are we might get something for the other three players. We'll not get 25 million for Winks, though, that's for sure. But like as I said, that they have been the damaged goods. That'd be the best way of describing it. And would you buy damaged goods at a decent price, or would you look at them for a knockdown price? I know which one I go for. Knockdown price. So we're going to lose out that way,
Well, look, I think the boys are right. I think there could be more headaches next summer in terms of outgoings, and how will it affect the business coming up that we go to do next summer. Be very interesting to see. But look, I think we've come to the end of the show, guys. I want to say a massive thank you to Philip, Kuba, and Sean for coming on with me this evening. I'm pretty sure they were in demand well across all YouTube platforms. So, guys, get in the comments and thanks to these boys for choosing the Irish Hotspur tonight. But look, before we end off, we're going to give everyone a chance to plug their channels. Philip getting a nice little ring there.
No, you know what it is? It's one of those dodgy phone calls from Sri Lanka.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
just hung up.
Philip, what's coming up on THFC Till I Die, my man?
Yeah, I think there's a carry on from this program going on over there shortly, which I don't think I'll be able to join, because as you can probably know, I've got a head cold at the minute, and it's really getting me. It's hurting at this stage. But yeah, we'll be doing a watch along with the Fulham game on Saturday and various other things. Dermot was on there earlier trying to. Hopefully, we might sign someone during the transfer window, but I'm afraid we didn't. So, THFC Till I Die on Saturday for the watch along.
No, there you are, guys. So there it is. Here it is. The link there if anyone wants to get over there for the live stream. That's on now. You've got Eddie, Dermot, and Isan on over there, and I'll also join in with them for another half an hour before I head off for an early night. But there you are. The link is in the chat. Anyone that wants to get over there. Derek Smith saying a very sensible discussion. Really appreciate that, my man. In fact, actually, it went a lot better than what I thought it would tonight. I thought everybody would be at each other all over the place. So I'm actually kind of happy with how it went. Kuva, I mean, what channel are we bigging up?
Shelfside Spurs. They've come back from their hiatus recently. Could have been over there tonight, but I'd said I'd be here, so I kept my word. They're a bit of a irreverent sort of view on things. A bit of very strange comedy, almost goes Monty Python's-esque at times, where completely random subjects. But they're back on Thursdays. I'll be heading over there in a minute, catch the last bit of their show, if they're still running. And other than that, it's Bobby Kay and I on Sunday evenings just to do an hour-long show just for chilling out and recapping on the week in a non-too serious way. That's our style.
There you are, guys. And that's the 3 Spurs boys. That is as well. So the links will be going into the chat. And Chefside Spurs is already there. I'll put the 3 Spurs boys in now in 1 second. And Shawnee, what can people expect coming up on your channel, my man? A lot of people thinking you spoke sense tonight.
Oh, really? That's nice. That's unusual.
Put your name in at times, so.
What's coming up on my channel on Monday? Well, I'm doing the watch along, obviously on the game for Fulham, and I do my usual stuff like the player rating, all the usual nonsense that happens during the week. But I am bringing it back Monday night at 7 p.m. We're calling it Game Night Tottenham. It's the Wheel of Fortune, where we have whoever the guests are, and then whatever name comes up, they have to make the case for specific statements, even if they feel the antithesis of that in their deep, deep down hearts. For example, let me give you a scenario. If Kuva was on the show, knowing how Kuva feels about the window, knowing how Kuva feels about Daniel Levy.
No, don't you dare! Don't you dare!
if Kuba came up, and then when we played the next wheel, and the statement was Daniel Levy is the greatest chairman that Tottenham have ever had, and one of the top 5 chairmen in the Premier League, Kuba or whoever else the guest would be would have to, regardless of where their take would be, would have to make the justification for that particular point. So it's fun and games, and it's going to have, no doubt, lots of arguments, but in a nice, high-pitched and entertaining fashion. So 7 o'clock Monday on the Spurs Talk Show. You can find me there. Cheers, Dave. I really enjoyed tonight. It's been fun.
No, look.
Nobody does tacky little game show segments better than Shawnee.
I'm gonna have a whole outfit.
Love it. Well, guys, there's the link for Spurs Talk Show as well. Make sure you do get over there, smash the subscribe button, and get over and check out that game show Monday night. I want to reiterate, I want to thank you, Philip, Kuva, and Spurs, or Sean. I was going to say Spurs Talk Show, Sean, I know his first name, for coming on. Like I said, really in demand, these 3 guys, and they chose here tonight. So, again, big yourselves. I want to say a massive thank you to you guys out there, even though it's been a disappointing window, tuning in, participating, getting your comments in, liking, subscribing, and helping support the channel with the super chats as well. So a massive thank you to all you guys out there. These shows are nothing without you guys, and I hope you know that. So a big appreciate it. Those who haven't smashed the like button, if you can already do that on your way out, that would be absolutely magnificent. It really does help push these shows out more and more to more people. So look, guys, we'll end it there. What's coming up tomorrow? Jesus, what day are we on? Thursday. I'm losing track of days. Yeah, tomorrow, Friday, we've got a fan show starting at 3 p.m. for everybody to come on and have their say on the window and whatever else you want to talk about Spurs related. So we will see you all back then. As always, come on, you Spurs. In content we trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
Bye.
Everywhere we go.